Okay, folks, we are back. This is episode 23 of Street to Strategy. I can't believe we're already at 23. Anyways, last week's episode with Casey got a lot of views, got a lot of comments. It really touched people. I really love that about that episode. And God bless Casey. We have a new guest today, and let me give him an introduction. Today's guest is not just a success story. He is a testament to roots, resilience, and relentless faith and hard work. Born on October 4th, 1967 in Visalia and raised in the small but mighty community of Exeter, his life is stitched into the soil of the Central Valley. His story begins with heritage, a mother from Santa Monica, a father from Pico Rivera, two people who built a life on grit and devotion after marrying in 1968. His father worked 40 years for Diamond International and picked crops in Cotton Center near Porterville, teaching him what sacrifice looked like before he ever understood the word. From Lincoln Elementary School to Exeter High School, class of 1985, and then to the College of Sequoias. His journey was shaped by baseball fields, locker rooms, and long days learning that discipline is earned, not given. He worked wherever opportunity knocked. A janitor at Wilson School, Sequoia Orange Packing House, Nichols Payless Food, Food for Less, and Frito-Lay. He even applied to the California Highway Patrol, Tulare PD, and the Los Angeles Sheriff's Office in the 80s, chasing a calling to serve. But life doesn't hand out victories without tests. He endured the heartbreak of losing friends too soon. Tommy Hardiman in high school, Scott George in 1995, and in 2022, the passing of his father. Real life trauma that either breaks a man or builds him. He chose to build. Married to his wife, Veronica, for 26 years, a father to three, Ian, Atiana, and Isabella. He stepped into real estate in 2007, went full-time in 2017, and rose into the top 5% of realtors in Tulare County. President's pursuer, Centurion, Master's Emerald, Master's Diamond, Quality Service, Pinnacle Producer. But titles don't define him. Consistency did. Character did. Community does. This is a story about a Valley kid who never left his roots, who turned loss into leadership, work ethic into excellence, and loyalty into legacy. This is more than a career, highlights, or reels. This is Vinny Arbizo. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, brother. What an introduction.
Dude.
I love it.
Dude, as I was writing these things, I mean, it's just interesting because I've known you forever.
Yeah.
And so I know your story.
Yeah.
But dude, when you start putting it like into words in a computer, dude, I get emotional when I write them.
Oh, yeah.
And I get emotional when I say them.
Yeah.
Because whether you realize it or not, man, I mean, this story is phenomenal. But let's jump into it. You were born in Visalia and raised in Exeter. What did that soil kind of carve into you that the world can never take away?
Wow, Jay, we see all these little snippets about what it was growing up in the 70s and 80s. And growing up in Exeter was like growing up in Mayberry. I mean, we had it all, and we didn't. The old adage is, we came home when the street lights came on. That was a true adage in there. And it was just growing up with our best friends, Gibby, who you had in the first episode, my best friend since we were 12 years old. We used to go swimming at the Dickies. We didn't have a pool. I grew up in a 900 square foot home that didn't have a shower. And we didn't have an extra room for my brother and myself until we got into high school.
Wow.
But growing up in Exeter was definitely growing up in Mayberry, and I couldn't have asked for a better situation for sure.
For sure. You know what, man? And you know what's funny? I didn't know anything about Exeter. But through you guys, going to the Stag, going to the Brew Fest every year.
Yeah.
I love downtown Exeter, dude. I really do.
Yeah.
And I love going to VIP Pizza there. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's like there's just something about that Exeter town.
Yeah.
And what you really start to realize, a lot of people don't know this, but there's a lot of money in Exeter.
So
a lot of rich folk.
There's a lot of people that are old money over there that all started off as farmers, and then they handed off all of their other stuff to their kids. And at one point in Exeter, we had most millionaires per capita in California.
Wow.
And Exeter is kind of known as the little Clovis of the Central Valley. So not a lot of homes go for sale in Exeter, and when they do, they typically don't last. I mean, right now, I think there's 21 homes for sale in all of Exeter right now.
Wow.
So it was a nice little town to grow up in. I'm glad that my dad found this place when he was a kid and looking for a job. And it just so happened that my dad had the wherewithal to go to a trade school while he was in East LA, and he wanted to be a printer. And it just so happened that they were opening up a brand new printing facility in Exeter in 1966, and the rest is history.
Wow. All right, so your mom's from Santa Monica.
Yes.
Your dad's from East Los.
Yes.
Okay. Two different worlds under the same roof, right?
Absolutely.
How did those kind of currents collide, and how did they shape the man you became?
Yeah, I don't know if they really collided. My mom grew up very poor.
Okay.
My mom was the second youngest of 13 kids.
Wow.
Okay, my grandmother was married before and had 10 kids with this gentleman, and then got remarried to my grandfather and had 3 kids.
Wow.
And on the flip side, my dad's dad died when he was 7, of which I did not know until my dad passed away of tuberculosis. Okay, so then my grandmother marries the best friend.
Wow.
He's got 5 kids. My grandmother has 5 kids. They're living in this little shack with kind of like an ADU in the back and raising 10 kids. And I had no clue that this was what happened on my dad's side because he never talked about it.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually a cool story. Your father worked 40 years for Diamond International and picked crops by hand.
Yes.
When you watched him come home tired, what did you learn about sacrifice that no classroom could teach?
I learned that my dad never, ever, Jay, complained about anything, about
men
being
didn't do
tired.
that. Yeah.
When we grew up in that house on Channing Way with 1 bathroom, my dad sometimes went out and had a couple of beers, okay, and maybe came home late a couple of times, and never once did he complain about anything. I heard him get up at 5:30 in the morning to go to work, no matter what he had going on the night before, and then had the wherewithal to play with his boys, okay, catch.
Yeah.
He never had that growing up. All he ever did was work, but he knew that he wanted to raise these kids, and he knew that he wanted to be a part of their lives. And I'm very fortunate, Jay, very fortunate to have grown up the way we did with my mom and dad, married 56 years before my dad passed. And, growing up with my dad and my mom and my grandparents and all the aunts and uncles, it was just a wonderful situation, Jay. It really was.
I would tell you something, and there's something about you that I truly respect. You're a great dad. And, I didn't have a dad. So when I get around good dads, I always want to tell men that are good dads that I respect you for that. If I knew nothing else about you, you're a great dad, you're a great husband. I don't ever remember you your wife's great, man, but I don't ever remember you out there trying to tomcat around or cheat on your wife. Dude, you've been a very solid family man.
Yeah.
And that is something about you that
Yeah.
I truly respect.
Well, I appreciate that because I did all my tomcatting beforehand. Had that itch a couple of times, you know?
Yeah.
And I did. I had a great time. I bought a house when I was 24 years old. My brother lived with me and his best friend lived with me. They helped me with the rent. And, I had a house when I was 24 years old and I thought I was just doing okay, But looking back on things, I had great... my mom and dad, I had those people to look at and to see how they, went about their marriage. They never screamed at each other. Not once. My mom would get mad at my dad, but she would never scream at him. She may not talk to him for a couple of days, but never saw that. So I try to convey that in my marriage. And my wife came from a broken household 2 times over. So I did not want her to have to go through that again.
No, that's, you know what? I tell you something. In my home, the game changer for me and my wife, we do not raise our voices.
Yeah.
Even if we don't see eye to eye on something,
Yeah.
we sit down and talk like me and you are right now. It's the game changer.
It
bro.
is. It really is. It's called just having good faith in each other and I don't ever want to belittle my wife,
Me
because
neither.
that's just not me. That's not the way I was raised, Jay. I was raised to raise people up. I'm the glass half full kind of guy
Me too,
at all
dude.
points of life. I got friends of mine that are going through cancer struggles right now. I called him the other day. Hey, can I bring you lunch? Oh, I can't have lunch because I'm on a special diet. I just wanted him to know that I was thinking about him at that point.
I would tell you something. I think that's why me and you get along so well. For the folks at home, me and Vinny, we go to lunch probably, I don't know, once a month, once every other month. But that's something that I've always liked about you. You're high energy. I am too. And I think that's where we're like-minded. Plus, we're both out here grinding all the time.
Absolutely, brother.
Trying to get that next thing.
Yes, sir.
What did love look like in your house growing up? Was it loud? Was it quiet? Tested? Unbreakable? What was it?
Very quiet, Jay.
Okay.
Very quiet. My mom and dad came from families where they didn't get hugs. They didn't get, hey, I love you.
Yeah.
But what was very different was that when my brother and myself came along in the family, my godparents hugged us. You know what I mean? And we did get hugs from my mom and my grandmother. But like I said, my mom and dad, for the most part, did not grow up like that. And I found myself, as I've gotten older, I see friends of mine, I hug them. I don't care. I've been through a lot. I've seen a lot. And the passing of my dad really had a big effect in my life. And so now I know that we're in this thing for a small moment of time, Jay. And guess what? It's really not going to matter from, 10 years from now what you did today, or maybe it will. But I tell everybody that I love them, and I tell everybody, hey, I appreciate you, and I like being around you. It's fun.
No, dude. You know what, dude? It's so funny, man. I was just at a funeral, and this is what I told somebody. I said this. We always think we have forever with people.
Yeah.
But if you really get down to brass tacks, all we have are small, precious, fleeting moments, bro.
Yeah.
And so enjoy them while you can, because you're right, bro. None of us here gets out alive.
No.
And when you close your eyes and you think of your childhood, what memory still smells like summer and sounds like freedom?
Oh, man, that's easy, Jay. Gibby and I on our ATCs at the Brickyard in the summer. So let me tell you guys, the Brickyard in Exeter was across town. They used to make bricks out there, and they had a little ponding basin, but it was a pretty big ponding basin. Always had water in it. So I would ride my ATC from across town, go pick up Gibby. He lived right by the Brickyard. And then we would have our 22s and our shotguns back in the day, and we'd go hunting rabbits, frogs at the Brickyard, and we'd ride all day, and it'd be hot. It'd be 110 degrees, and we would ride all day. So the smell of that water and the smell of those weeds brings back memories that, man, great memories.
See, you know what? What's cool is you guys got to do that stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't get to do that.
Yeah.
And, I was a city slicker, man. And, who were you as a boy? Were you wild? Were you disciplined? Were you searching, angry, hopeful? What were you, brother?
Definitely not angry, Jay. I didn't grow up that way. I was definitely hopeful, but I had to set an example for my brother. My brother was always getting into trouble, little trouble, not big trouble, just little trouble. And so I felt like I had to present myself and set an example for him to try and follow, you know what I mean? Being the big brother. But my brother's a wonderful person. He's not a bad person at all, you know, and he's just not as driven as myself, but he is who he is. He lives in Arizona now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just trying to set that example for him. I always had that in the back of my mind. I got to set an example for my little brother, even though he's only 16 months younger than I am.
Yeah. Mikey, love you, man. Wherever you're at, I hope you're doing well, brother. Class of 1985.
Oh, man.
Okay. And you know what's so funny? I'm 89, so
Yeah.
I didn't know you were that much older than me, but class of 85, standing on the edge of manhood. Did you feel ready for the world? Or were you still trying to figure out who you were? Because I was still trying to figure it out.
Oh, Jay, man, I was still trying to figure it out. I mean, in the beginning, I wanted to be an orthodontist. Oh, you know, Stephen McAuliffe over there down the road, man, when I first started going to him in 1977, I go, man, I really admire this guy. And he's got a great job and he's really good with people. And I said, wow, maybe I want to do something like that. But after seeing what kind of school I'd have to go to, that all changed when we were going to COS, but I was still trying to find myself. You know, I just cared when we were going to COS. I just cared about, hey, who was going to be in my next class?
Yeah.
Hey, what new friends was I going to meet? Hey, where was the party that weekend?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I was worried about because my mom and dad both did not go to college. My dad went to trade school, so they really didn't press college on me and my brother like we press college on my kids right now because my wife's a college graduate. She's a teacher. So I was just trying to figure it out, Jay. Having a good time.
No, and you know what? And dude, I was right there with you, man. So baseball, what position did you play?
I played first base and I played cleanup most of the time, most of my life. Given I started off midget league together in Exeter, little league, all stars, and then we went to 13-year-old league, and then we went to high school. So I could hit the ball pretty good. I couldn't move very fast.
Yeah.
I got a good story for you guys. When I was in little league, Billy C's dad, he was one of our coaches, and I was a big kid. I was tall, but I wasn't real, you know, I was tall and big. My brother's tall, skinny. He used to call me Water Buffalo. That was his nickname. He goes, you put the Water Buffalo and bat him clean up, he'll hit the ball out of there. So yeah, that's what position I used to play. Oh yeah, good stuff.
I love it. Baseball, though, it's a game of failure and second chances.
Yeah.
Okay. How did striking out prepare you for life's harder losses? Because I learned a lot playing baseball, dude.
I learned a lot playing baseball because it was a team sport, Jay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's all about your team. It's not all about you. It's all about your teammates. But as you get older, it's all about you. You got to take care of number one. You got to take care of yourself. So like I said, I was just trying to figure this out. But I mean, being a team player when I needed to be a team player, that's what it taught me. When I worked at Food for Less, I had 35 checkers, and I had 15 UCs, of which Julian was one of my UCs, somebody that was on one of your earlier podcasts.
I did not know that.
He was one of my UCs, and so I had to be a team player with those guys, and I had to write their schedules, you know, so that baseball taught me a lot about what I had to do in the future in some of my jobs. But then as we got older and I got to be a realtor, you know, it just kind of made it a little bit different. You know, it was a little bit different than being a team player because now it's just me.
You know what was funny, man? When I was 12, I was a damn good wrestler and I was a damn good ball player. By 13, it was all over, dude. I got into skateboarding, and then all I wanted to do was skateboard and chase girls.
Nothing wrong with that.
Was there someone, either a coach, a teacher, even a man, who saw something in you before you saw it in yourself?
I think I used to work with a gentleman. His name was Wayne Scott, and I learned a lot from this guy, Jay. I started working at Nichols Payless when I was 18 years old. He was already in his 50s, mid 50s, maybe even late 50s. And I used to watch him and how he interacted with people. And it was genuine, Jay. And that set off a light bulb inside of me. And I'm like, oh man, everybody likes this guy. They love this guy. And I can see why, because he's genuine. He's very transparent with everybody he came across.
Yeah.
So I was like so I always remember that. And he looked at me and he goes, hey, good things for you, kid. Good things for you, kid. He and another gentleman, Robert Lawrence, he saw something in me when I went to Food for Less after Nichols Pay Less. He said, you need to get fast tracked. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, we put you in the frozen food department. He goes, you need to be a front end manager. So when I'm not here, you're running the store at night.
Wow.
So he said, you're going to go fast tracked and we're getting you to front end manager.
Dude.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I get it.
Okay. When did ambition stop being a whisper and start becoming like the fire in you?
When I started getting up at 4:15, working for Frito-Lay, on my hands and knees, stocking the papitas at Target, getting my license in 07, and then that fire got lit because I knew that I did not want to stock papitas my whole life. I knew I didn't want to get up at 4:15 and listen to these other managers bitch and complain to me about things that were going on, and they really weren't a complaint in my eyes, but they thought they were. So I was like, oh man, I'm going to get out of this thing, and I think real estate might be the answer to that.
I tell you something for the folks at home. When he's talking papita, that's potato chips. Okay. And so I'll never forget. I'm at Target. Me and my daughter, she was young. I'm pushing a shopping cart. We go down the chip aisle.
Yep.
You were stocking chips.
That was me.
And I will never forget. I was like, hey, dude, how you like this? And I remember you going, I hate this shit. Yeah, you're like, but it's a decent pay.
Yeah.
And you're like, but I remember you telling me, you're like, and then I think at that time, that's when you actually started going realtor part-time. And I remember you telling me, hey, dude, I think this is going to be my path. And we'll get to it here in a second.
Absolutely.
But, so you had jobs, janitor, packing house, grocery aisles, Frito-Lay.
Yep.
A lot of sweat there.
A lot of sweat.
How did those jobs sand down your ego and build your backbone? Because I can tell you what, a lot of those jobs I just named off, they'll get rid of your ego real quick.
They'll get rid of your ego real quick. And then, I was stocking, like I said, the bottom shelf at Target. You know what I mean? And I was like, man. And I'd see friends of mine coming in on a Sunday, and there I am stocking the chips. And like I said, it wasn't a bad job. I just knew, Jay, that I did not want to do that my whole life. I knew there was something else out there that I could be good at, that I could have a little bit more flexibility, if you will. When it came time for my kids to dance, or my boy was playing basketball and soccer and stuff like that, I just knew that there was a better way, and I was going to make that happen come hell or high water. I really was. I was determined because, like I said, of my work ethic from my mom and dad. I knew, and my dad used to always tell me this, son, nothing is impossible. Look at me, nothing is impossible. That was always ingrained in me, Jay. So I used to hear my dad say that, and I'm like, okay, nothing's impossible, And I took that path, and I was going to make it happen for sure.
Well, God bless your dad for doing that.
Yes, absolutely.
Was there a night that you drove home thinking, I'm meant for more than this?
Absolutely.
Dude, I've looked in that rearview mirror so many times and been like, what are you doing, Jay? You know what I mean?
I used to work at Food for Less in Hanford, 1993 to 2000. And I was the night manager, and I'd get off at 10 o'clock at night. Okay. And I remember driving down 198, 2 lanes before they made it 2 and 2. And I remember looking in that rearview mirror saying, man alive, there's got to be something better than this. I do not want to be doing this, And then I, transferred over into Frito-Lay, and it was a great job getting up at 4 a.m, getting off at 2. But then I was doing real estate part-time after I got off work.
The Food for Less, was that the one on Mooney and Caldwell right there?
No, this was in Hanford.
Oh, Hanford.
In Hanford,
okay.
Yeah. I worked in the one in Hanford, and then I transferred to the one on the north side, which is now Food Max.
Oh, yeah. Was up there like Houston and Ben Maddox?
Houston, Ben Maddox. Yeah, I worked at that one for a few years too.
Right on. In the 80s, you applied for the CHP, Tulare PD, LASO. Were you chasing a badge, or were you just chasing a purpose?
I was born and raised with Gibby Torres, who you guys met in your first episode.
For sure.
My best friend, my ride or die. And I used to ride along with him when he was a CSO.
Wow.
He was bored in that little truck, giving out bike tickets, giving out parking tickets, and he was bored. So I'd go along with him. So the more I rode along with him, I was like, maybe I want to do this.
Yeah.
I'm a good people person. Maybe I want to do this. So then he becomes a cop, and I'm riding along with him, and I'm riding along with you, and I'm riding along with Dominic and Tim Haskell.
Oh, yeah.
And I really did. I thought I wanted to do that, Jay. So when it came,
I think you would have been good at it.
who knows? You know what I mean? But the good Lord has got his rhyme and reason for everybody. And so when it came down to me going into the academy here at COS, I passed the test. The gal who ran the academy, whose husband ran the academy, she called me. You scored very high in the test. We'd like to see you in the spring. And I had to have that serious conversation with my then girlfriend and my grandmother and my mom. And they were all opposed. 100%. They said, no, you do not need to be doing that. We do not need to be worrying about you in the middle of the night. We don't want that for you. So the good Lord stepped in, and
Here
we
we are.
went into a different direction, Jay.
I hear it. I hear it. Looking back now, were those doors closed? Was that like rejection, or was it redirection for you? Because it sounds like redirection. And it didn't sound like there was rejection there.
Yeah.
It just, you decided, I'm going to take that other path.
Yeah, but there was some rejection there, Jay. So we'll go back. It was the late 80s. I test for CHP. Back then, you had to write this ungodly amount of sentences.
Oh, yeah. I took
and
that thing.
It all had to be grammar perfect, your conclusion, your body, your intro. You had to be, and I English was my thing. I could handle English, no problem. So I passed that. So then we go for our physical agilities test. I passed that. So then we go for our medical stuff, and I got cut because my vision in my left eye is terrible.
Really?
And they go, oh, well, see, nowadays you can have 20/40 corrected and they'll still accept you. They wanted 20/40 uncorrected.
Yeah.
Back in the day, and so I got cut there. So I was bummed out, and I go, okay, wasn't meant to be. So then I test LASO. I passed everything. We get to the lie detector test, because they used to give us lie detector tests back then, and I flunked that. They said it was this question, and it happened to do with cocaine. I've never done cocaine in my whole life. But maybe
you're
I got
missing out, dude.
but I may have been nervous, you know what I mean, when he asked me that question.
Yeah.
So I go, man, that's not good. Maybe this just isn't what I need to do. One last time, Tulare PD. I go and I test. I smoke everything. Me and another kid, we go to the Chiefs interview. Just he and I. We're the last two Mohicans. And he was in college and had just graduated in criminal justice, and they ended up giving him the job because of his background.
You remember his name?
I do not remember his name. Like I said, this might have been 89, 90 at this time. So
Got it. All right, let's shift gears. July 19th, 1985. The day Tommy Hardiman was killed. Where were you when that innocence was cracked?
So he wasn't killed.
Okay.
Tommy was not killed. So Tommy, we'll back up a little bit. So Tommy and I grew up on Channing Way.
Okay.
He was playing Little League with us, myself and my brother. So summers were spent at his house also because he had a pool too.
Okay.
And we got to be really good friends with Tommy and his parents and his grandparents. We used to ride our bikes off the top of the garage into his pool doing stupid shit like that.
Yeah.
It was good times. So then he's 12 or 13. He comes down with leukemia.
Oh.
That's what happened. So now here we go. We're going down this, and this is my first taste of cancer in my life. So he gets cancer, and we go to Palo Alto with him to some of his appointments, and we go, Jay, and in the same office building are the kids that get real old real quick.
Oh, yeah.
And man, Jay, life changer. I mean, just killed me to see these little kids so old and the disease that they had.
How old were you guys at the time?
I'm thinking, so Tommy was probably a year or two behind me. So I was probably 13.
Okay.
And Tommy was probably 11 or 12 when he first got diagnosed. So we'd go to appointments with him. And then a couple of years later, he gets in remission. And I'm like, oh, thank you, Lord. But then here we go again. Gut punch. He gets cancer again. And it takes him in 4 months.
Where did he have the cancer at?
I want to say it was in his either liver or kidneys. I can't remember. It was so long ago. So Jay, going through that and seeing one of our best friends die at such a young age, seeing his dad's face, seeing his grandfather's face, and then his grandmother worked with my dad at Diamond International. And so seeing their faces at the funeral, it will be ever ingrained in my memory. Yeah. The hurt that was there because they loved that little kid so much. He was the first grandson in the family.
Got it.
And I mean, just killed me to see them go through so much pain. And then it just wrecked my brother and I for a couple of years also.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Dude, how do you make sense of even something like that?
You don't.
Bro?
You look at God and you ask God, why? Yeah. Why these little kids growing old so fast with this disease? Why Tommy Hardiman getting cancer? You know, you sometimes ask why, Jay, but God's got his reason for everything.
Yeah. Did your childhood, did it feel different after that?
It did feel different because, you know, we were so used to riding our bikes down the street with Tommy, you know, and then playing, we were on the same teams together. It felt a little different. And I used to ask my mom, how do we, she goes, son, this is part of life. Yeah. It's a terrible thing, but you have your life to live and you need to work on living your life and still having a good time. But it felt a little weird. It felt a little weird that I was still here and I would see his grandma and I would see his grandpa, you know, they owned the furniture store in Exeter. It just felt weird not to have him there.
Are you bothered by leg veins of any size, or is leg swelling or pain bugging you or someone you know? I would recommend that you make an appointment with our friends at Sequoia Vein and Wound to take care of it. With a friendly bilingual staff and their years of experience, they are happy to help resolve those issues. Give them a call to get a consult at 559-713-6478 and tell them that Jay Mac sent you.
Well, probably, I mean, you know, if you really want to think about it, I'm sure life got a little darker.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Did you ever feel anger or was there anger during that time or was it more grief?
It was more grief. I never felt angry. You know what I mean? I was obviously angry that he wasn't there, you know, but it was more grief. You know what I mean? Learning how to deal with the grief, you know what I mean? Because, you know, my mom and dad never spoke about grief. You know, they never taught us. Nobody's got an owner's manual telling you how to grieve, Jay. You know what I mean? Everybody grieves in their own different ways.
Did it harden you in any way?
No, I don't think it hardened me. It just made me a better person to where I knew, hey, I still had life to live. I'm here and I'm going to make the best of it.
Well, what is, you know, you kind of already answered this question, but it sounds really good that at least your family was able to talk about it openly.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That, you know, I mean, I didn't have, you know, I never lost kids when I was young. I lost a bunch later on, but I didn't lose them young. But man, when you're young, you're just still trying to figure out the world.
Oh,
and so,
yeah.
But at least I love the fact that your mom was very open and would talk about it.
Yep.
Did that tragedy shape any choices for you, like later on in life?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I'm sure indirectly they shaped some choices, you know, that I made, you know. I just remember I wanted to be a good person, Jay, because you don't know what anybody else is going through in their life. And I wanted to be a good person because, you know, if you smile at somebody, you don't know what they're going through.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? You got all these people, like I said, I've got friends right now battling cancer. I have a friend that just had a double mastectomy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's 50-something years old, Jay.
Yeah, that's young.
You know, and that's tough. That's tough.
If Tommy were listening right now, what would you want him to know about your life?
Turned out pretty good.
Damn good. Damn good. And you know what? From me to you, bro, you are a good man. You're one of the best people I know. And I'm not just saying that's for the show. You are a good man, dude. You're like I told you, man. I don't look up to a lot of people, but how you treat your wife and how you treat your kids, I respect the hell out of it.
When I go to the cemetery to visit my dad, I visit Tommy and I visit Scott. They're both buried within, leaps and bounds of each other down the rows there. But I go see him and I go see Tony Shoddy, some other friends that we lost in high school. And I always make sure to stop by and say hi.
Before we go into Scott, I am a master storyteller, so I got a story for you. Okay. So 2 stories back, I talked about how I went to Tulare, got in some trouble there, left, got reunited with my dad in the next episode. Now let's talk about how it all resurrected my career. Okay. So me and my dad are tight. I'm living with this girlfriend of mine, and my dad calls me, and he says, meet me at Sal's Cafe in Tulare.
Oh, yeah.
The sheriff, the sitting sheriff wants to talk to you.
Oh, man.
So, dude, I hop in the shower, throw on some clothes, beat feet down to Sal's Cafe. And we walk in there, and it was Bill Whitman at the time.
Oh, yeah.
That was the sheriff. Right. And sweetheart of a man.
Yeah.
Right. And so Bill sits down, and I got to give it to Bill. Bill looks me dead in my eyes, and he says, tell me what happened. And so, you know what? I didn't shy away from it, bro. I gave it to him in the full flesh. This is what happened. These are the mistakes I made, but this is the man I want to be, and this mistake is pushing me to become that man. And then now being resurrected with my dad, it's really gotten rid of this chip I had on my shoulder, and it's making me become a better person. And it really did, Vinny.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there, we're drinking iced tea. It's warm in there. And he leans back and he closes his eyes for a second. And I'm like holding my breath because I'm like, oh, okay, this is one of those, this is a crossroads.
Yeah.
Right? It really is.
Yeah.
And he closes his eyes and then he looks me dead in my eyes and he says, and I'll never forget these words, they're etched in my bones. He says, everybody falls down, son. But what's important is you got back up. So he promised to give me another chance.
Okay.
And 3 months later, I got sworn in a crisp new uniform as a deputy sheriff for the Tulare County Sheriff's Office.
There you go. There you go.
So what I realized is me losing my job in Tulare was it should have been the end, but it wasn't. It was the beginning.
Exactly.
Because what it did was it healed me in so many ways, and it made me such a better cop, and it made me such a better man.
Yeah.
However, okay, so now I got sworn in December of 97. February 97, I'm working graveyards, and their graveyards was 7 at night till 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, a 12-hour shift, working the jails, 2 words, not fun, right? And so, dude, I'm getting off work, and I mean, I am bone weary, tired, dude. I mean, I am wore out, dude. And we had to do cell checks throughout the night, so you couldn't sleep. You're not getting paid to sleep, but so, anyways, so I'm walking out to my car, and my partner had beat me out there. And he has a brand new pickup. Oh. I mean, this thing is shining. I mean, it's almost emitting as much pride as he is in this truck, And he's got the engine running. He's got the radio going. I mean, he is like, look at me. I've arrived, right? Now, me, on the other hand, I'm climbing into a 1986 Toyota Corolla stick shift.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, yeah. Standard.
All right. Yeah. So anyways, we come out, we turn onto Road 12. We're both heading south on 112 from Bob Wiley. Well, I'm in a stick shift, dude. Well, he thinks it's funny to get up on my, he's tailgating me because he's laughing. And I didn't pay attention because I'm doing the stick shift. But I definitely can't keep up with a new pickup.
Yeah.
He finally gets impatient, goes out, guns it, but they had been doing construction. There's mud all over. He fishtails, loses control, doesn't hit my car. goes through a chain link fence and hits a C train, dude. And I mean, it sounded like an atomic bomb.
Oh, yeah.
Kaboom! So I pull my car over, jump out, take off running over there because there was another deputy that was a passenger. I was like, I thought, man, these guys are going to be seriously injured. A C train don't move, dude.
No, heck no.
Right? And so, dude, I run up, and now there's all this liquid, antifreeze and oil that is coming out of this truck, and it almost looks like the truck is crying, dude, like with tears, right? And so they stumble out, and they kind of rung their bells pretty good.
Yeah.
Nobody's bleeding, thank God. Nobody's seriously injured.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he looks at me and he's like, "This is your fault." And I was like, "How's it my fault?" I go,
You're the driver.
Our cars did not collide, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, "You thought you were just going to pass me and you got in that mud." And so, dude, we have to call the highway patrol.
Oh, geez.
And the highway patrol comes out, and somehow, some way, somewhere, they list me as at fault.
Oh, geez.
Now, down the road, it got situated where people, but initially they were like, "Well, you were going too slow," and he tried to go around you, and it was bullshit. But anyways, I tell that story in this. I'm already like, here I'm a brand new deputy sheriff, and now I'm involved in a wreck, right? And I'm like, oh my God. But it also did this. It fractured the trust between me and that dude from then on, right? We were never the same.
Yeah.
And so I tell that story in this way that everything is not as always what it seems.
No, absolutely not.
And I realized that year working at Bob Wiley, it made me a good cop, and it actually made me better at gangs than most of the guys at Visalia PD. Because by the time I got to Visalia PD, I was always very, very well versed in gangs.
Yeah.
And I'll always so. Bill Whitman, wherever you're at, God bless you for giving me a chance. I'll never forget it.
Yep.
All right, let's transition. Scott George. He was only 23.
Yes.
When you think of him, what stands out about him?
He loved life, Jay. He was a good friend of mine. His dad and my dad worked at Diamond International for 25 years together. So he used to love to go honky-tonkin', and he was a good dancer. I was a good dancer. Yeah. So we used to teach, and so we'd go honky-tonkin' Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
El Presidente.
That's where we ended up. We ended up at Crazy Delbert's, you know what I mean, back in the day.
Yeah.
And he loved life. He had a hard time with the girls. I do remember that. He used to try a little too hard. Even my brother said, he goes, "Hey, Scott's trying to, talk to this girl that I'm talking to." And I said, "He's just trying a little too hard."
Yeah.
Wonderful person. I always remember before we would get off the phone, he goes, "Hey, my friend, have a good day." He would always, touch base with you and say, "Hey, what's going on?" Great, great guy. He loved life. Water skiing was his passion. Dancing was his passion. We are up on the lake at Lake Kauai with him. I don't know how many times he and his dad would just be at each other's throats because Scott's backing down the trailer and his dad's yelling at him, and I'll never forget that. They used to be at each other's throats all the time. But one thing that he did love life, Jay.
Gibby, I asked Gibby about him, and Gibby said he's like, "Oh man, he was a sweet dude."
He really was a sweet person,
yeah.
And he loved life. And then in the end, he just trusted, too many people. But this guy was a monster, Jay.
Well, we're gonna get to it because I got a lot of questions.
Okay,
how did you react when you learned that Scott had been killed by violence and hidden away in that type of isolation? And tell how those two things, I would like to hear it from you about what happened to him and then how you felt about it.
So we had always been going out to the bar. So he calls me and says, "Hey, we're going out tonight." And he goes, "Me and Robert." And I said, "Well, who's Robert?" And he goes, "Oh, it's this kid that came down and my dad's dating his mom." That's the only reason I know. He doesn't know too many people, so I kind of want to introduce him to some people, so we're going to go out. And I said, "I already have plans. Have fun, okay?" So next day, I don't know if I got a call the next day or if it was 2 days later. I think it may have been 2 days later. His dad calls me and says, "Hey, have you heard from Scott? And I said, no. And I said, why? And he goes, well, we haven't heard from him in a couple of days. A little weird, but not weird, because he and his dad were always fighting. He would take off for a day or two.
Yeah.
And so we thought maybe he met some girl and went to the coast, because he used to do that. He used to go to the coast, some girl stay the night, and then come home. And I said, no, Art, I haven't seen him, And I said, I'm sure he'll pop up. I said, did you guys? And he did tell me that he and Scott had been fighting. So I said, okay, maybe that's what happened. So fast forward another week, and then I really start to get worried, because, being around you guys, I know that if you're a week or two into this thing and you haven't heard from him, not good.
Yeah, it's
not good at all. So here we go into 3, 4, 5 weeks, Jay, and then I'm sick, because I know it's not good.
Yeah. If somebody goes missing for 5 weeks.
And then all of a sudden I'm going, what is going on? But here I am. It's 1995. I'm a manager at Food for Less in Hanford. I have a new girlfriend, and I'm going, okay, my life is still going. And then I go, well, what do I do to help? So my other buddy Manuel takes off to the coast, like he's going to find him, and to no avail. And then finally, weeks later, we get the news.
Okay.
And it felt like a movie, Jay. It felt like it wasn't real. And I go, wait a minute here. What are you telling me, you guys? So for the folks at home that don't know the story, this guy goes out with my buddy that night. They get into an altercation in the car. He shoots my buddy 4 or 5 times. I think it was 5. And he just said in one article that he wanted to see what it was like to kill a person.
Yeah. And then he stashed the body.
And then he went and he took Scott's body and he took it to his dad's ranch in Stockton, California, and threw him down a 50-foot well.
Jesus.
Unbelievable, Jay. I'm still when I even say it, it doesn't feel real. It really doesn't.
How'd they crack that case?
He ended up telling his dad.
Okay.
And so once he told his dad, the dad told the authorities. And then we found out that once he killed Scott, then he took off to Oregon. He had a girlfriend that was a stripper. He couldn't afford her anymore. He needed money. He goes and kills these other 2 ladies in Oregon to rob them to get money to still go out with his girlfriend.
Jesus.
Unbelievable. It's right out of a
movie, dude.
It is. It really is a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When someone he trusted, even considered to be kind of a friend, was responsible, did it fracture your belief in people? Because they can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just don't understand how a person can do that. I mean, you've been in this other business and seen terrible, horrific things. I'm not a cop.
Yeah.
I'm not used to hanging out with or talking about people getting murdered. He murdered him just to murder him. You know what I mean? And so, man, it did fracture my way that I look at people sometimes. I'm very cautious, and I deal with people every single day of my life,
I would tell you something. It's true, man. It's like I've had to be around people like that suspect. And when you're talking to these people, you can see evil in their eyes.
I believe it.
Right.
100%.
And the only thing that kept us alive, man, is a lot of times, dude, when I had to go up against dudes like that, I went hard.
Yeah.
Dude, hard.
You could just see it in their eyes. And even in the interviews, his jail interviews, you could just see he was just evil, Jay.
Oh, yeah.
He was just evil, evil, evil. And then, I don't know if you read that other article.
I did.
About his aunt.
Yes.
Did you read that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, did he kill his aunt? So the good thing about that scumbag is he's dead. He died in prison. He was 50 years old.
Okay.
He's done.
Natural causes?
Natural causes,
okay.
yeah.
Scott was kind, trusting, willing to help. How do you honor that goodness without becoming hardened by what happened? Because there's something about you, bro. You have a very helpful way about you. Like you want to help people.
I do.
You want to be around.
I do.
You're like you are. When I would describe you to people, you're a genuinely a nice person, dude.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, you could become hardened by what happened there, or you can just become a light, Jay.
Yeah.
I feel like I love helping people out. I mean, obviously I help people buy and sell homes now. I love that aspect of that job.
Yeah.
I love that feeling when something goes good, you know what I mean? But I try to teach my kids also, you just be a good person, you guys. Please be good people. There's no reason to be little assholes to anybody. They may have done wrong on this and this and this. Just be a good person. We're at Disneyland. I see this lady walk in with her son, and it doesn't look like, I mean, they had some tattered clothes on. And I said, wow, you know, they're here at Disneyland. They're here at the restaurant. I paid for their food, Jay. And my little girl goes, why did you do that? I said, because I wanted to be a kind person.
Yeah. Good for you, bro.
And so I want to show my kids it doesn't take a lot to be a kind person. It doesn't take a lot to talk to people, say, hey, how are you doing? How are you doing today?
Yeah.
What's going on? You know what I mean? What'd you do this weekend? It doesn't take a lot to be a good person.
I tell you something, man. I'm with you on this 100%. A lot of people call me when they get themselves in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
And I've said this many times. I was born to be in service of others.
Oh, yeah.
And I never miss a chance to do so. And a lot of that, I think, Vinny, for me, that's my way of giving back.
Sure.
Because I got so much from law enforcement. It took a lot from me.
Yeah.
But I got so much from it.
Yeah.
And how successful I am now, a lot of that can be, that's my way of giving back.
Yeah,
because a lot of times when people call me, I don't charge them.
Yeah.
I just give them the best advice possible.
Sure, absolutely.
Did his death make you more guarded or more intentional about how the way you lived?
More intentional. I mean, enjoying everything that I have, Jay. I felt so bad for his dad. You know what I mean?
Oh,
his
yeah.
dad, they went hard at this guy, and rightly so, because he got the death penalty up north, and then he was going to get tried, and he got tried, and he got convicted down here. I don't remember if he got the death penalty or not. I think he got life without parole,
Okay.
you know, and his dad was an advocate for these kids getting killed, you know, and these missing kids. Scott loved to be on that lake. So this is what Art did. He went to the Corps of Engineers, which is, you know, that lake state owned, right?
Yeah.
And he told them this, I want a plaque up there dedicated to my son, because my son was born and raised here and pretty much raised on this lake. And I want something on that top parking lot overlooking that whole lake. I want him to have a plaque up there dedicated to him and his life, because he was murdered. And guess what? It took him 3 years, but there's a plaque up there now, Jay.
Really?
There is.
Okay.
And I'll go up there every once in a while, take a picture with that plaque and say, Scott, how you doing? And remember the good times that we had on that lake.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
What is harder to carry? The betrayal or the brutality of that crime?
Brutality.
That's horrible.
For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I mean, he just killed him just to kill him,
Yeah.
and then to stick him down the freaking shaft, Jay.
Yeah, that is not even a horrible human being. That's just a true piece of shit.
That really is. That really
what
is. So that's what, that's what really stuck with me. And that's every single time, man. Art, his dad was like that MFer, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. How did the community absorb that type of shock? I mean, I bet you that hit that little town like a ton of bricks.
It hit us like a ton of bricks. And, Scott and Art lived in Visalia. So, I mean, I remember getting that knock at the door. For those old enough to know, Hard Copy was at my front door. Current Affair was at my front door. They all wanted an interview. And I told them, I am not talking to you guys right now. I am still grieving about what is going on. But they all caught up with me at the funeral.
Yeah.
So, for those that don't know, at the funeral, I mean, every TV station was there, Current Affair, Hard Copy, they were all there. And Art told me this. He said, Vinny, out of all his friends, which he had a few friends, but we were the closest, and Manuel was one of his closest friends too. He said he would want you to say something at the funeral. He really would. And I said, Art, I looked him right in the eye. I said, Art, I love you. I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he goes, brother, you can do it. And so once he told me that, I said, I'm going to do this for Scott because he deserves it.
Yeah, damn
he
right.
He really does.
Damn right. Did it change the way you protect your family.
Oh, 100%, Jay. And the things that I've learned from you guys as being police officers, you know what I mean? I have my CCW. I carry my, my little Glock, or I carry my 380.
Yeah.
And I carry my little pocket knife. When I sit down at restaurants, where do I sit? With my back towards the wall, facing forward.
Yeah.
When I go in, do I go, okay, if the shit hits the fan, where are we getting out at? Absolutely. I live like that.
You know what's so funny, man? It's when I walk into restaurants, I was just at a church for a funeral. And I can't get over this, bro. But I walk in and I'm like, okay, there's an egress. Something happens. I can flee this way.
Yeah.
Here's the sad part about me. I still walk into restaurants and go, okay, there's a man, 280 pounds.
Yeah.
I can see how he's dressed. He looks like he might be good with his hands.
Yeah.
And I constantly do this. Threat or no threat.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And it'll be that way until the day I die.
Yep.
In quiet moments, how do you remember him?
Dancing.
Yeah.
With the girls and having the best time, Jay.
Yeah.
That was a great time in our lives, man. We danced all night, Jay. And I mean,
when you're that 21, 22, 23 years old,
we were
at that point, you think you're invincible.
You really do. And that's the time when all that country music was going wild. Garth Brooks was number one. We were two-stepping, 10-stepping, East Coast schottish, West Coast schottish. And we taught all these girls, you know what I mean, how to dance. Man, I just remember slow dancing with some girls and looking over at him and him looking at me and giving me that smile. That's what I remember. That's what I remember, Jay. And it's good memories.
I was going to say, that's a great memory.
Oh, yeah.
If this story could teach one lesson to young men today, what would it be?
Just to always be aware of your surroundings.
Damn right.
And never trust anybody, Jay, especially somebody who you really don't know. But Jay, when is the last time, I get so mad, when is the last time that you've heard of a monster like that? Just because he wanted to kill somebody, he kills my friend Scott? Just because, Jay.
Well, people like that, that's a true psychotic is what that is.
It really is.
Let's transition. When your father passed in 2022, what part of you went silent?
I don't know if a part of me went silent because I felt I had to talk about him.
Yeah.
And
well, you're kind of probably the de facto leader of that family now.
Absolutely.
I would think.
The patriarch, you know what I mean? My mom's still here. But man, Jay, I want everybody... what made me feel so good were the people that my dad had no contact with in the last 10 years that he worked with 40 years ago. They came to his funeral. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I didn't remember that because in that moment, I'm still distraught. I'm still grieving. And they signed the book. And then the other day I just pulled the book out and I went, oh, wow. Yeah. They came to my dad's funeral. That was great, because my dad was very well liked. And every time somebody sees me from in Exeter that used to work with my dad, they go, oh my God, you look just like your dad and you act like your dad. And that makes me feel good. Yeah. That makes me feel good because my dad was, just salt of the earth.
I only got to meet your dad a couple times. I remember you had him over one time at your like a football or something like that. He always seemed very quiet. Oh, yeah. Very, very chill.
Yeah.
What words still sit in your chest that you wish you could say to him?
I told him everything.
Good man.
Yeah, I told him.
Yeah.
When he was passing, I told him the things, we always told, not so much I love you, Jay, but I got to tell him that though. And they say that when you're passing, that they can still hear.
Damn right.
So I held his hand and I played him some music. And I told him.
Yeah.
I told him even the things that maybe I thought I had already told him, I told him again.
Yeah.
Because I know.
Well, you know what, bro?
And I knew he was going.
I would tell you this, man. You and your brother are good men. you can attribute that to your mom and dad.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are good people.
Yeah.
And I remember when all that was going down, man. And you know what, bro? You are one of the best people I know. And, and that right there is enough that you can hold your head high, bro, that you honor your dad.
Yeah.
You honor your mom.
Absolutely.
Even to this day, dude. You know, for the folks at home, my mom and Vinny's mom both have dementia. They're both in homes. And I hear about you all the time. You're telling me you're going by there, you're taking her stuff, you're making sure she's good.
Yeah, because she's got good days and bad days, Jay. And, the other day she's all, son, I miss my home. And I said, I know, Mom. I said, but there was nobody at home to take care of you 24 hours. At Westgate, there's somebody there to take care of you 24 hours. And I said, Mom, you have 2 friends that are here. Okay, a gentleman that she worked with at Wilson Elementary School. He's got really bad Parkinson's. He's there. She talks to him. There's another gal that's the speech pathologist over there, and she knows her, so she talks to her. So I just feel that, my mom's one of my best friends right now.
Good for you,
You know
brother.
what I mean? I can honestly say that. And I just want to make sure that I took care of her like she took care of me.
Damn right. I tell you something, man. My mom was in Westgate.
Yeah.
And dude, I had to get her out. My mom kept on trying to break out, dude. In
And
fact,
they leave the front door
I was
open.
gonna say, she actually got out one day.
Yeah.
And the director called me one day and she's like, Jay,
Yeah.
we are too busy to watch her.
Yeah.
She's like, she's going to have to be in a locked facility.
Yeah.
She's like, because, dude, that Tulare right there, that's
Oh,
a busy
yeah.
street.
It's really bad.
And I just go, so I had to finally take her out there to Vice Post Acute.
Yeah,
You know?
real quick before you get to the next question,
Yeah.
I want to piggyback off we were just talking about. I was thinking about this the other night, and something popped in my mind, Jay, because I knew we were going to be talking about this stuff. The best compliment I have ever received in my life, and I can honestly tell you this, I started at Food for Less in 1993. There was a gal that worked in the bakery, and we started chopping it up, just started talking. She looks at me and she goes, can I tell you something? I can tell that you have great parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
The single most best thing that anybody has ever said to me, Jay. Honestly.
Yeah. You know what, dude? You've always been a people person from the day I met you.
I love people.
And that, honestly, dude, you got to get that from people because a lot of times people don't have that.
No.
Believe it or not, I was only raised by my mom. My mom was kind of buck wild, but I can tell you this. What's cool about it is I'm a people person.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
I really am.
I love people.
How does grief rearrange a man's priorities? Because it's done it for me many times, brother.
Yeah, you go through these things, Jay, the death of Tommy, the death of Scott, the death of my dad, priorities, I see a lot going on in those homes. So guess what I made a priority? My health.
Yeah.
Because I'm 58 years old. When my dad passed, I promised myself I need to take care of this temple a little bit better. Now, my food habits, my eating habits are not the best on the weekends. During the week, I eat pretty good. I go to the gym every morning, Monday through Friday. I'm there. I'm working out. I'm in the sauna, and I'm on that treadmill.
Yeah.
So it kind of rearranged the way the things that I saw in that, in the skilled nursing facility, if you will, the things that I saw, I don't want that to happen to me.
Right.
So, knowing that your legs have to be super strong as you get older, I'm working on my legs. I'm working on my chest. I'm working on my whole being, my physical being. I feel like my mental is good and my relationship with God is good. I feel like those things are good. So I want to work on my physical self. And that's how that rearranged some of that.
Good. 26 years of marriage.
Oh,
That's not luck. Okay.
No.
That's work.
absolutely.
All right? What has kept you guys together?
Respect.
Yeah.
That's easy. My wife and I respect each other tremendously. She came from a broken family twice over. I came from mom and dad being married till the day my dad died. You know what I mean? And we respect each other. We do not raise our voices, but my wife's Italian.
Yeah.
So when she talks, she likes to get excited.
Yeah.
And that's not yelling to me because I know she's not yelling at me. She bickers at me and that's about it. But we respect each other.
I would tell you something. You know what? There's something about her Well, there's a lot about her I respect, but I love to hear her talk. There's something about her voice. It's kind of got this raspy thing to it, right? So I love to hear her talk, but I can honestly say she's always been nothing but a sweetheart to me. Just a very, like every time I ever saw her, I can actually use this word with her. I always think of her as just a classy lady.
She really, really is.
She dresses well.
Yeah, she does.
She's always put together.
Yeah, and she's worried about her looks, and I wanted that in a wife. I wanted somebody that goes, hey, to get dolled up. I wanted them to look good, to care about their appearance. But like I said, she came from a broken family. Her dad walked in her room at 10 years old and said, see ya.
Wow.
He was an alcoholic. He died in his early 60s, but he was an alcoholic, a heavy, heavy drinker. Her mom got remarried to somebody else who was a wackadoo, if you will.
Yeah.
He ended up passing away of a heart attack.
Wow.
So my poor wife thought that the way men treated her mom was the way the men were going to treat her. And I didn't want her to go through any of that. I wanted her to have security, Jay. When you shut that door, like you say, when you shut that door, you know you're secure. You're sitting there watching that movie.
Yeah.
That's a good day right there. I wanted her to feel secure. She still thought up until years ago that I was going to say something or do something. And she thought that, Jay. And I said, honey, I told you since day one, since the day I crawled back on my hands and knees, that I told you I would never do that to you till the day I die.
Good man. Good man. What's been the hardest season of your marriage? And what did it reveal about you? I would say probably
the hardest season. I don't know if there's been a hardest season, but everybody goes through little ups and downs.
For sure.
You know what I mean? In the very beginning, when we had kids 2 years after we got married, and I would say the hardest time was her. We lived in Exeter, her taking the kids to Visalia, to the babysitters, and then going to work in Porterville.
Yeah.
She worked at Burton Elementary for 9 years.
Dude, that's a big commute.
That's a big commute. So then we have the twins, and she's like, Vinny, I can't do this anymore, man. I cannot, So we ended up buying a house in Visalia and then getting a babysitter because the babysitter was in Visalia. So we had to do something, but that was rough, Jay.
Yeah.
That was really, really rough. I just started at Frito-Lay in 2000. She had just started her new job in Porterville. So I would tell you that was pretty tough right there.
Yeah. When you first held your son, first child, what shifted inside you?
Knowing that I was going to have to teach these kids, about God, teach them to be hard workers, and knew that I had to do whatever it took getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. If I had to do that for the rest of my life, I would have, Jay.
Yeah, I know you would have.
And so, but teaching these kids, hey, the way of the world, and the world is so different now, Jay.
Yeah, big time.
I mean, it is so different with the computers and the phone. The phone is the biggest thing, Jay, and trying to teach these kids. But I don't know. I mean, your daughter is 20 now.
Yeah.
So my twin daughters are 19. So they're pretty much the same age, trying to keep them on the right track. Hey, don't be drinking and driving out there, because as kids, we did that, Jay.
Big time.
We did that, and thank God we're still here, because I know there was many a night Gibby and I drove home, and we were not responsible, Jay.
No, big. You know what? I think saved me. I was too poor to have a car. I didn't have my first car until I was 20, dude, in the military, dude.
Yeah.
But what kind of father were you determined to be, and what cycle were you determined to break?
I was determined to break the cycle that my wife went through,
Got it.
sure. Because,
Yeah.
like I said, I came from a stable background, Jay.
Yeah. You had good parents.
I had
Yeah.
good parents, and then my mom and dad had the wherewithal to take us to church. So the other day, I had a long conversation with my mom, and my mom is still there pretty much. I said, Mom, how did you know to take us to church? She said, your grandmother was given up by her mom, and she had to go to the convent with her 2 sisters.
Wow.
So she was raised by nuns, Jay.
Wow.
And I'm going, and I knew that, but I didn't know the particulars. So the other day, knowing that we were going to talk today, I wanted to get in the particulars with my mom. So I go, Mom, I said, Mom, tell me about that. She said, your grandma was raised by the nuns. Then your grandma gets out and starts having kids at an early age, because that's what they did back then.
Oh, yeah. Different
and
times.
I said, yeah, but Mom, did you go to church with grandma and grandpa? She says, no, because somebody always had to be home taking care of my little sister who had CP, cerebral palsy.
Oh, yes.
So my mom still till this day will wake up. And so who's watching my sister?
Okay. Yeah.
She still comes up with that. And I go, Mom, she's gone.
Do you think, you know what's so funny? I've had these talks with Mom. They can remember 50 years ago, but they can't remember 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a weird thing
It is
to
weird.
watch.
It is weird.
And you know what? And I've said this many times on the show, and I know you're living it, but it's very hard to watch people's minds go before their bodies.
Yeah.
And
see, my dad had the opposite. My dad had Parkinson's, and so his
That's a
body,
horrible disease.
his body gave up before his mind. So the only one of the, if you call it good, Jay, when I would walk in the room, he'd be like, "What's shaking, son?"
yeah.
My dad's there. My mom still, even with the dementia, Mijo, what's going on today? And I go, oh, Mom, I got a lot going on. And I talk to my mom and I tell her about my day, you know. But two different aspects of those diseases that are terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible, because I have friends, like you said, your mom doesn't know who you are,
She doesn't.
you know, and I don't know if I could handle that.
Dude, I can tell you something. It's very hard.
Yeah.
And then my mom's still full of piss and vinegar.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I showed up there to the old folks home for the people at home, and she had asked them for water, and they hand her the cup, and my mom goes, I don't want this goddamn shit, and she just throws it over her shoulder. And so I had to walk up. My mom's real name was Gloria.
Okay.
But everybody called her Patty Joe.
Yeah.
So I walked up there. I said, hey, Patty Joe. You know, you don't do that, right? You got to be nice.
Yeah.
And she looked at me and she was like, you know, who the fuck are you? You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly.
But,
Let's get back real quick to the church thing.
Yeah.
So I asked my mom, I said, Mom, how did you know to take us to church? Because you didn't go to church. She goes, oh, no, we did. She said, but we didn't go with grandma and grandpa because they were taking care of the youngest child who had CP. She said, so grandma would send us to church every Sunday, myself and your Uncle John. And I go, okay. And I go, well, how did you get to church? We didn't have a car. We walked to church every Sunday.
where'd they grow up at?
In Santa
Oh,
Monica.
in Santa Monica.
So
Santa
she
Monica,
says it
that's
was a
right.
good little clip to get to the church. But my grandmother had the wherewithal to send those two kids to church. So then as we get older and they start raising us, we were raised in the church. I mean, this is what our Sunday looked like.
Catholic?
Catholic,
Okay.
yeah. We would either go to Sacred Heart in Exeter or St. Mary's in Visalia on a Sunday, depending on what time we got up. And then we would go eat, and then we go to a movie. That was our Sunday deal. Now, my brother sometimes would be a little idiot, and he would get us in trouble. And then my dad would say, we're not going to the movies. I grabbed my brother. What are you doing? What are you doing? Because we look forward to that, Jay. That was our Sunday gig, you know?
Yeah.
And just think, and I don't think my dad was raised in the church either. He never talked about it. But thank God for my grandmother sending my Uncle John and my mom to church every Sunday because we were raised the same way. And I'm trying to do that with my kids now too.
What's the uncle that they always said that Mikey?
Uncle John. That was Uncle John.
Okay.
So for those of you at home, my mom had one biological brother and one biological sister with my grandfather. And so my Uncle John was the wild child, started smoking when he was 14 years old and had a good job with Mexicana Airlines in the 70s, gets popped with 2 keys of cocaine in Mexico.
Oh, dude.
And guess what happened, Jay?
Went to jail.
He gets thrown in the clink in Mexico.
Worst place in the world to
in
be
the
in.
70s. And I'll never forget my mom bawling and my mom riding him. And so 4 or 5, I mean, Jimmy Carter I remember that, and he was working on trying to get those guys moved to, the States, And so finally, I want to say 6 or 7 years later, he gets moved to the States and he goes to Soledad.
Wow.
So guess where I've been, Jay?
Soledad,
I've been to
Prentice,
Soledad. Matter of fact, I was going through some pictures this morning, just reminiscing about things. And there's a picture of my mom and my grandma and my aunt with my Uncle John up against that backdrop that they used to have, you know what I mean, of animals or flowers, the green backdrop back there. And then I've been to Terminal Island to visit my uncle. And then it was Terminal Island, Soledad, Terminal Island, and then California Men's Colony.
Okay. San Luis Obispo.
Yeah, San Luis Obispo. So I've been to all of them, Jay. And I've seen, boy.
How long did he do?
I want to say he did a total of 10 years.
Okay.
A total of 10 years, but things were never the same for him when he got out. He had a hard time finding a job.
Yeah, parolee now.
And then here's the kicker. We forgot to even mention this. My uncle gets brain cancer.
Oh, wow.
And because he smoked since he was a kid.
Yeah.
So he didn't have a pot to piss in, Jay. So he could get free Medi-Cal, you know what I mean? No problem. So he comes and lives with my mom and dad in Exeter on Channing Way. And he told them, I'll let you open me up once. And they opened him up and they got the cancer out of his head. But they didn't know that he had cancer in his lungs.
Okay.
So the one in his head started feeding off the one in the lungs.
Yeah.
And
It
took over and he passed. And that's when things really changed with my mom. I can honestly tell you this. She got addicted to pain meds, to the alcohol. Yeah. And she used to make my dad take her to every Tom, Dick, and Harry walk-in. Hey, I'm sick. Give me something. Give me something. Give me something.
Oh, yeah.
And then we had to fix that too, Jay. So, like I said, my mom definitely changed after my Uncle John passed.
Yeah, it's interesting what trauma does to people.
Oh, yeah.
For you, ambition builds careers. It presents and builds families, right? How do you fight to protect both? Because that's hard to do.
It really is hard to do, Jay.
Because I tell you something, I did really good at the ambition.
Yeah.
I didn't do good at building the family.
The ambition came from this, Jay. I grew up in Exeter, California. Rich little white kids who were all my friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They did not. I mean, my dad had a good job. My dad was making, I want to say in the 70s, he was making $50,000 a year.
Oh, that's a lot of money.
My dad always had cash in his pocket. They used to work overtime. I'll never forget this. But my mom and dad didn't buy that house on Channing Way till years later. But my mom and dad came from humble beginnings. So they didn't go on lavish vacations. We always went to LA because that's where the family was. We never went to San Francisco. I think once or twice we went to the Sequoias, And my wife goes, "You guys never went up north?" I said, "No, because nobody was up there.
Yeah.
All the family was down south, you know what I mean?" But, I was always ambitious, Jay, because growing up with them little kids all had farms. You know what I mean? Gibby's mom and dad had money. You know what I mean? And so I never went without, Jay. If I went to Newport Beach with Gibby to Balboa Island, my mom and dad would always give me $100. And back in the 80s, that was a lot of money.
$100, you could party all week.
I'll never forget that. But man, Jay, I just knew, and I didn't finish college, so I had to be that guy. And I wanted to be that guy, Jay, because I saw all those kids with their degrees and their really good jobs. And I said, there's got to be a way for me to make it somehow, some way. And guess who put that in my mind? My mother.
Awesome.
My mother was the one. I'll never forget the conversation. She goes, "Son, this gal over here has this area wrapped up." She said, "You have just as many friends, just as many people, and better yet, you have a better personality."
Good for you.
And so that started the real estate grain in my head, and then it just grew from there.
So that was the first thing that really put that real estate thing in your head.
My mother, and then I got it double reiterated by a gentleman when I used to be running the store at Food for Less. When the other managers went home, I was in charge of that store from 5 to 10. So we all wore black shirts, the managers, and I had, I used to have 12 registers rolling, Jay. On Easter, the Saturday before Easter, 1997, I did $200,000 total volume in that store.
I was gonna say, I remember going in those stores back then. Dude, it was wall to wall people, dude.
I mean, busy. So I was like going, okay, I got this, So the ambitious part, man, that was not a problem getting that fire started, because guess what, Jay? I knew I wanted a little bit more. I knew I wanted to go on vacation.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted a little bit more. I wanted to be my own boss, Jay.
Yeah.
And I knew that. And I was bound and determined to make that happen.
In realtor, those early years, doubt, slow months, fear.
Yeah.
Was there anything that almost broke you during that time?
I wouldn't say in the real estate, because you have to understand that I had my full-time job at Frito-Lay, and then I had my part-time job as a realtor. So the only thing I wanted people to know that I was a realtor.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was just a part-time realtor, and that just kind of stuck in my craw, man. And I was like, I want to be known as the guy. And when you think about buying or selling a house, hey, I got a buddy.
Yeah.
I got somebody that'll take care of you, I wanted that, Jay. And so, like I said, I don't think there was anything in those early years that broke me, but I went through the 07, 08 fiasco.
Oh, yeah, that was a rough time.
That was a rough time. We were doing short sales. We were doing all that stuff, and you had to learn how to do the short sales. And that was a lot of paperwork back then, 100 pages. You had to fax over to Bank of America before they got the Equator system. So I'm learning, Jay, and that business is all about, hey, we're having to deal with this. You need to learn this.
Yeah.
We're having to deal with the short sales. You better learn how to do short sales. It didn't last. The short sales didn't last for a long time. But what I did learn is you better be able to go left. If you need to go left, you better be able to go right. You better be able to learn this stuff to be a better realtor.
I would tell you, for the folks at home, this is funny. Me and Vinny, we go to lunch. And Vinny, I will never forget this. You looked me dead in my eyes and you said this: I'm going to quit Frito-Lay and I'm going to go realtor full time.
Yeah.
And I remember you were like, I'm a little worried because
Yeah.
I'm giving up a
weekly paycheck.
A weekly paycheck.
Yeah.
And good pay.
Yeah. Yeah.
They paid decent.
Yeah.
But I remember you going, but I've done so well doing this part-time
Yeah.
that I really think. And I remember telling you, bet on yourself, bro.
Yeah,
I go,
100%.
you're going to do just fine.
Yeah.
Because I already knew this. You're just a people person. I knew you were going to kick ass, and you did.
Yeah. Let's go back here real quick. I saved all of my numbers. I got my license in 07, and I started doing pretty good about 2015. So I saved all my numbers, all my closings from 2015 to today.
Got it.
So when I had that little bit of doubt, I had that year that I quit Frito-Lay. I quit in 2017, January. In 2016, I closed 23 deals part-time.
Yeah.
And my wife goes, hey, check that out. I think you can do that. So right then and there, I knew that I could be good at this job and then maybe make a little money.
Good for you, man. All right, we're going to transition.
Oh, boy.
All right, for the folks at home.
Here we go.
All right. I'm going to take you to the Nichols Payless reunion party. And for the folks at home. So, Vinny, we talked about how Vinny worked at this place that was called the Nichols Payless reunion. This is 2009. Vinny says we are going to have a reunion for all of the employees. But Vinny if anybody that truly knows Vinny don't want 10 people there. Vinny wants 110 people there.
And I like to entertain everybody. So
Yeah,
we'll start it from the very beginning. So I have a nice bigger house in Southwest Visalia down the street from El Diamante. And I have a pool. I got RV parking. My neighbors across the street, wonderful people. We're fast dead friends with those guys till this day. And I told them, I said, hey, I'm going to have a little party. And I want you to invite your friends over, and I'll invite all my friends over. We'll just have a big old party. So it was a Saturday night. Here we go. Gibby shows up at 5 o'clock with his little ice chest, with his drink of choice, he and the wife. So I had food, I had drink, and we were having a great time.
All right, let's get, I got specific questions that's going to get us through this, okay? What was the energy in the air before it all shifted? Because when I got there, we had a great time for about, I'd say about an hour and a half. It was going really good.
Yeah, everything was going great. There was some people that were brought to my party by my neighbors that I did not know. Yeah. But they seemed like good people. But Jay, you know what happens when you start drinking. They were drinking tequila, Patron tequila, out of the bottle.
I was going to say, I actually had a couple of shots out of that bottle with them.
Yeah, and I remember that. And so all of a sudden, something happened with somebody.
All right, so real quick. At what moment did you realize that night had crossed from celebration to chaos? Right?
As soon as I saw Gibby walk through the door, and then I saw his wife go at you, and then I was like, what is going on? So then we go, something's going down, and I get everybody outside to the front, and everybody's yelling, and they're yelling, and then all of a sudden, I don't know if a punch got thrown first or if the bottle got thrown first.
It was the bottle.
Yeah, so there was a faction across the street almost, and a faction in my driveway, and a bottle got thrown, and it either hit somebody in the head. Did it hit somebody in the head? Because you were there.
No, it hit the ground. The crew
they just started fighting, and then somebody jumped on Jimmy, and my brother jumped on that guy, and it was just a melee. And I'm going, what is going on here? You know, because we got cops, we got COs, and they're all fighting.
And here's what I would tell you for the folks at home. Here's what, and this is what's funny about that night, okay? Because number one, all right, they're all COs. You got a bunch of cops there.
Yeah.
Gibby gets into it with that wife.
Yeah.
And there was a wife there of a CO, and Gibby, I remember I was standing there. He called her a hussy.
Yeah. Oh,
That's what he called her.
Yeah.
Okay. So she goes, I'm going to go get my husband. Right. So we're all sitting down in the living room, and I could almost feel it like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And so the husband walks in. He goes at Gib. Gib goes, hey, man, I'm a cop, pushes him. At that point, I remember we pulled him apart. There was nothing going on.
Yeah.
Now, I had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So I go into the bathroom. I come out. There is nobody in the house. But I could hear all the music in the backyard. You had the radio going.
Yeah.
So I just assumed everybody was in the back.
Yeah.
So you had all that food. So I'm getting tri-tip and all this stuff. And me and my girlfriend, we're getting the food. Our buddy's wife comes in there, and she tells me, she goes, Jay, you're a pussy. I go, what did I do? And she goes, your friends are out here in a rumble in the front yard.
Yeah.
Where are you? And I go, number one, we're cops. We're not supposed to be in a rumble.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
But so we'll get to this. When the fight broke out with the neighbors, what emotions hit you first? Was it more anger, fear, or just disbelief?
I was just disbelief. I'm like, wait a minute, we're all supposedly friends here. But like I said, there was a few people that I didn't know, you know what I mean? And then Joe had nothing to do. He wasn't fighting anybody. It was his cousins. And then the people he brought that were fighting with Jimmy and my brother, you know. And then Dominic, I think Dominic was invited to the party.
Dominic showed up in uniform.
But he was in uniform.
When he got there, I told him, I go,
get out.
We
told him to get out.
Get out
and I was telling you, Chris White from Lindsay PD shows up. He knew we were having a party. And mind mind you, there's 30 cars out there, so it looks like we're having a party. Yeah. And I was just in disbelief, so I'm trying to break it all up. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? And I'm like, and then Jimmy's like, hey, somebody jumped on me. And my brother's like, oh, did Jimmy jump on me? And I said, no, Jimmy didn't jump on you. He jumped on the guy that jumped on you. So it was just a big old melee. And then, like I said, and guess what fueled that? Alcohol.
Yeah. Somebody got arrested that night, and we'll leave their name out of it. Did that feel surreal to you? Because it did to me. And then did it feel like life kind of took a hard turn? Because I can tell you something. From that night forward,
things were different.
Things changed, and it was never the same. And like I always say this, that Nichols Payless reunion party, there were ripples that came out of that that were hard to live down.
Absolutely.
Bro.
I mean, she got arrested, and then they're calling me that night. She was beating her husband up in the back of the cab and left her shoe in the cab, and
they got kicked out of the cab.
They got kicked out of the cab, and then they go, and then she gets arrested, and it was just crazy. But like I said, the reason that kind of finished them there is because they already had problems.
No.
You know what I mean? Behind closed doors.
There was truth to that.
But like you said, we still talk about it today, and we still go, wow, did that really happen?
And for the folks that know, every now and then video called me, and I'll be like, the Nichols Payless reunion party. In the hours after all that happened, what conversations were taking place and what wasn't being said? Because at the time, I remember me and you talking. Now, me and you are being honest.
Yeah.
A lot of people were not.
Yeah.
And I remember going, hey, guys, and you know what's kind of funny? I've been in a lot of fights.
Yeah.
But I always try to be the voice of reason in
absolutely.
that time.
Yeah.
And I was like, and Sean was there. Sean hit somebody. He's like, I think I broke my hand. I'm like, hey, dude, we're 40 years old at the time. I go, what the hell are you doing, dude?
I know. No.
But do you remember all the stuff that
all
was
the
being
stuff
said,
that's being said, and I'm like, oh my God.
A lot of it was bullshit.
I got a knock at the front door early in the morning, and I'm like, oh my God, we're still hung over, still trying to get over what just happened.
Who knocked on the door in the morning?
I want to say it was Gib.
Yeah.
Knocked on the door in the morning, and I'm like, what's going on here? My head's killing me. And
then I stayed the night.
You stayed the night.
Yeah.
And then my wife gets up, and she's like, my wife was mad, but I mean, it wasn't my fault that all broke out, you know what I mean? She was just mad that, and she's like, well, if you hadn't had everybody over, whatever, it happened, you know what I mean? Everybody got over it. Eventually, some of them didn't get over it, like you said, it had ripple effects moving on, in the future.
Looking back now, how did that single night quietly alter relationships, reputations, even trajectories?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I was worried about my neighbors. You know what I mean? Because
now you got to live across the street from these people.
I mean? And then but they knew that it wasn't them. They knew that it was just a couple of people, and I didn't know that it popped off. And like I said, the ripple effects down the road, man. I mean, wow. I mean, it really had an effect, Jay.
You know who I like to hear? You know who tells that story? And he always makes me laugh. Is Davey.
Oh yeah.
Davey does it good. Davey, we love you. Did that event change how you view loyalty and accountability among friends?
Yeah, I mean, the loyalty.
It did for me.
Yeah, absolutely. The loyalty was there. We saw who was fighting on our side, you know what I mean? And the accountability, everybody took accountability, I think, for what happened that night. But like you said, Joe, my neighbor, he couldn't take accountability for the guy that he invited, you know what I mean? Because somebody popped off to his wife, you know what I mean? And hey, would somebody have done the same thing? Maybe, maybe not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I still had and like I said, I still have a great relationship with my neighbors who I don't even live by anymore. I see them at the casino all the time.
Yeah. Was there a lesson about pride, escalation, or restraint that only hindsight made clear? Because I tell you what, that night, I had a lot of restraint, bro.
Yeah, you did. You restrained yourself. And then like I said, I was trying to be the voice of reason. It's my house. I didn't want anybody getting shoved through a wall, somebody impaled on one of the freaking things on my RV parking. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was just a very weird situation, Jay. But like I said, funny how alcohol does that to people, and then all of a sudden, because at one point they were inside the house, and I think I said something, I can't remember, but I think I told them we need to go outside, you know what I mean, because nobody's going to be jacking up the house.
I would tell you something. I ended up, I jumped a couple people's ass that night.
Yeah.
And they deserved it.
Yeah.
And this is what I said. I said, number one, we're at our boy's house.
Yeah.
And, it was a beautiful home.
Yeah.
Great neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, and here you guys are out in the street fighting, because some people were like, why weren't you out there fighting with us? I was like, that's a quick way for me and Gib to get fired.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
100%.
And I said, I'm telling you, all the cops that are here, we can be involved in this shit.
Yeah, I know.
And I said, I'm telling you that, man. And I go, because somebody goes, where were you, Jay? And I was like, well, I went to the bathroom and then I came out. You guys were all gone. I didn't even know.
I was having some tri-tip.
Yeah, but I even told Sean that night, I go, if I had not been in the bathroom, and I had not been eating, I would not have been swinging out there, because cops, we always thinking about this. Liability.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Now, I go, how quickly you hit somebody, they're seriously injured.
Boom.
Now you're arrested. Now you're fired. Now you're prosecuted.
Yep.
There's so many things that were going on.
Absolutely.
We actually all got lucky that night.
No, we did. We did.
Do you believe that night revealed something about the group dynamic that had always been there under the surface? Because I tell you something, and that's why I wrote that question.
Yeah.
For me, our boy.
Yeah. I mean, it did. Like I said, there's all these underlying things that, we knew about, you know what I mean? They just kind of brought it all to the surface. And like you said, Jay, at the end of the day, the alcohol that's a truth serum, brother.
Yes, it is.
That is a truth serum. They're going to tell you how they really feel, dude.
Yes.
And it came out.
Yes, it did. All right, let's switch to realtor.
Oh, boy.
All right. What was the final switch in you that you were like, all right, I'm done with chips.
Yeah.
I'm full going realtor full time.
Yep.
What was that thing that lit that fire? There had to be something.
Oh, yeah. Here it is. Conversation that I had with one of my DSLs at Frito-Lay.
Okay.
And Leo Galley, shout out to Leo Galley. He looked at me and I told him what I was thinking about doing.
Yeah.
And he actually looked at me and he goes, oh, and real smart ass like, he goes, oh, you're going to go full time in real estate? And Jay, I mean, I just looked at him and I said, yes, I am.
Good for you.
And guess what? A year later, guess who called me to sell his house?
Yeah.
Leo Galley, my old DSL.
Yeah.
But right then and there, Jay, I said, oh, these MFers don't think I can do it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And they didn't know my numbers going part-time. And I was doing 23 closings, the year that I left. And I said, I'll show him.
Damn right.
And I was bound and determined. That lit the fire right there, Jay.
Good for you.
Yeah.
When did you realize you weren't just chasing survival anymore? You were actually building dominance. When did that happen? Because, dude, pretty quick into it, I already knew you were doing well because we would talk.
Yeah.
But when I started hearing it from other realtors, they're like, hey, dude, Vinny's kind of something in this shit. When did you realize it?
I want to say 2020.
Okay.
I think that's when it really hit me. 2020, we start with COVID.
Okay.
And they tell we realtors, you're not essential. Stand down. And I'm like, what do you mean stand down? We got to get people homes. We got to sell these homes. I mean, we're in a big deal. It's a big deal right now. And so I go, I never stopped working, Jay. They told us to stand down. I never stopped because I had people that needed to sell
people
homes.
Still going to know. They still need a home.
But the good thing was A week later, because COVID hit, we've never been through a pandemic, Jay. Everybody's freaking out. And I'm going, what do you mean? So I didn't stop working. And then a week later, on a Saturday, I get an email from the DRE. And I go, why am I getting an email from the Department of Real Estate? That's normally a bad thing. And they said, we have miscalculated and you are to go to work immediately. You are essential workers. And I'm all, that's more like it. We didn't know what to expect, Jay. And
that was a weird time in the whole planet, dude.
It was a weird time, but guess what? Bottom line, I closed 50 transactions in 2020.
Awesome.
And I said, holy mackerel, we did do that. And I don't know what the total volume was, but bottom line, I just look at the numbers that I closed, number of transactions ended up being 50. And at that point I go, whoa, I can do this, and I can do this at a high level.
Yeah.
And I remember I told my wife, I said, it's on. And I said, I don't care what kind of market should come at me next. I think I would know how to handle it because I just been through the worst market that we've ever been through. And look what we did. Little did I know last year was going to be our worst year that we've ever had. And I still made it through that one.
Yeah. You know what, dude? You know what, talking about the pandemic, me and my wife, that time, I just hung out with her.
Yeah.
You know what? And that, to this day, will always be a really special time for me and her.
Sure.
Because that was the year where she moved to come live with me.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't, 6 months later, dude, we got married. And dude, but man, dude, I'm living my best life, bro.
Absolutely.
Because,
and I'm happy for you. I see it in you. You know what I mean?
I really am, dude.
Yeah.
And, but that pandemic time, man, was just a wild time.
I would go to work, Jay, and my wife's a school teacher, so she was off, right?
Yeah.
And for a few weeks. And so, Matt and Allison would come over and they'd just be hanging out in the backyard. I got some Jason Aldean on, man, and we're swimming in the pool. And I go, remember, so we have a song, that we always, a Jason Aldean song that we always used to hear when it was really popular in 2020. And that's our pandemic song, you know what I mean?
Okay. What song is it?
I'll go. I knew you could ask. I can't. I'll tell you later on. Yeah,
okay.
I'll remember.
Top 5% of realtors.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen by accident.
No, it's just.
What did you do, or what do you do that others don't? There's something about you, dude, that there's something about you as a realtor.
Yeah.
It's like I always think of you, you have more personality, it seems like, than a lot of the guys.
You want to know what it is, Jay?
I will say you're a killer, dude. You're out there doing it.
This is what it is. And because I don't look at myself and what makes me a good realtor, blah, blah, blah. But I have reflected on that. And I asked other people, and they said, and I asked other realtors that I've done business with, and they said, you know what it is, dude? It's your enthusiasm.
Yeah.
That sends you way above. And he goes, and you're very sure of what you're telling these people. I'm watching you talk to these people, and you're talking to these people like you've known them your whole life.
Yeah.
But see, that's just me. I can make anybody, I don't care if you're a business owner, a doctor, a lawyer, of which I deal with every day, a pharmacist. I'm dealing with a pharmacist right now. I don't care who you are. I can talk to you and I can convey to you that I know what I'm doing first and foremost, but I'm being very transparent with you and very honest with you.
Yeah.
And that's what I think makes me over the top on some of these other guys, and they know that I have their back. I'm not just looking for the paycheck, which I'm going to get eventually. I'm really concerned about, hey, I got some people going to South Carolina. I just sold their house, contingent on these other people selling their house. So I had to have that conversation today. Hey, people moving to South Carolina, are you moving before we close and get out of the house, or do I need seller in possession for you for a few days? Because I got to get that all situated with these people that are selling their house and need to move into your house.
Yeah.
Yeah, being very proactive.
I will tell you something. One thing about you, I referred a friend of mine to you, Mitch. And Mitch, I don't even think it was 3 weeks later, dude. He called me up and he goes, thank you for referring me to Vinny. He's
Yeah.
like, he is hands down the best realtor that I've ever worked with. He's like, I call him. He goes, he either answers, and if he doesn't, he calls me right back.
Yeah.
When he tells me he's going to do something, he does it.
Yeah.
And he goes, what you don't know, Jay? He goes, we're doing deals left and right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there watching TV on a Sunday night, 8:30 in the evening, and I've got my phone on me, and sure enough, Mitch is calling me, and I'm like, oh, hey, Mitch, what's going on? He goes, I need you tomorrow in Corcoran, California. I bought a house. I fixed it up. You need to sell it. And I said, that is not a problem. I'll meet you there at 12 o'clock, And since then, I think for him total, I think we probably closed 10 or 12 transactions in the last 3 years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I appreciate that because when he gets lean, I kind of lean on my investors because they're always going to be there buying stuff, selling stuff. I kind of lean on those guys, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In order to get me through the lean times, which last year was lean, but it was a lot leaner from everybody else. The numbers came out and they said 71% of people who are licensed in the United States didn't sell one home.
Wow.
And that for me, that's hard to believe.
For you, awards stack up, okay? President's Producer, Centurion, Master's Diamond. Which one meant something deeper to you than just a trophy?
I want to say, and I'm being honest with you guys, the Centurion is one of the top awards. I didn't receive the Centurion for last year. I received Diamond status.
Yeah.
And so, but the one that means the most important to me is that Pinnacle Producer. Pinnacle. What we do, we send out surveys and then they fill them out and they come back. And you got to have a minimum of 25 five-star surveys in order to receive that award.
Okay.
Read those awards again real quick. I want to say it's the Pinnacle, not producer.
Well, this one was President's Producer. These are the ones I wrote.
Yeah,
President's Producer, Centurion, Master's Diamond.
Yeah. And there's another one we received when we have at least 25 five-star reviews.
Got it.
And so that one means the most to me, Jay, and this is why.
Because that's your customers.
Because that's my customers telling me you went above, and I always get this, you went above and beyond.
Yeah.
Which I always do. And if it costs me a couple $1,000s at a transaction to make a transaction work, you know what I mean? And nobody wants to budge on either side, then I might do that, just to get the transaction done. But that means the most to me because I have 285 five-star reviews on the Real Satisfied website. And then nowadays in this market, it's a tough market. So guess what? They want a professional, Jay.
Damn right.
I had a guy at the gym the other day and goes, I got referred to you by that guy and that girl. And I said, I've done transactions for both of them. He goes, but I'm going to interview somebody else. And I said, there's no need. I go, you have what you need right here in front of you, and you don't need. And he goes, well, let me read your reviews. And I said, you read my reviews. And he read my reviews and he goes, I'm not interviewing anybody else. I got who I need. And guess what? 19 days later, I sold his house and he's moving to Florida.
Good for him. What does quality service mean when nobody's applauding?
I still do that, Jay, even when nobody's watching, Jay.
Yeah.
I still do it because I'm a firm believer. I'm a people person. I learned so much in the grocery business about making people happy.
Yeah.
I had people coming in with their groceries at 7 o'clock at night. I got this rotten avocado. I got this. I said, no problem. Stay right here. I call one of my box boys. I go get me a big tri-tip, the biggest one we have out in the case. He brings me the tri-tip. I write it in my book and I go, here you go, have dinner on me tonight. True story.
Dude, that's awesome.
True story. And they go, you can't do that. I go, I can do whatever the hell I want. I'm running the store right now.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, thank you very much. I was very generous of you. I said, thank you very much. So my customer service is second to none. I can honestly say that.
Well, we're going to get to it because I can attest to it. In a business built on trust.
Oh, yeah.
What does integrity cost you? Because it's not easy to do.
It's not easy to do. You got to keep your cool, Jay. I mean, your integrity. And like I said, there's sometimes where you can take a little shortcut, Jay.
Yeah.
I had true story. I had somebody that wanted to put a roof on a house, and there's a barrier that needs to go up in between the roof and the house. It's called a radiant barrier, and it needs to be done now. And then this guy goes, "Hey, I'm going to put a roof on, but I'm going to take the shortcut."
Yeah.
And I go, "Nope." And I go, "Dude, do you want this to bite you in the ass 5 years from now?"
Yeah.
I don't want it to bite me in the ass. So guess what? You spend the extra $3,000 and we do things the right way. Because a realtor way back when always told me this. He said, "You know what? In the middle of the night, I don't want anybody knocking on my door. That's why I stay home. I don't go out there tomcatting."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He goes, "At the end of the day, nobody's knocking at my door." Well, guess what? I don't want the DRE knocking at my door, and I don't want to see them in my office, which I have seen the DRE in my office. And Louis Mota told me, he goes, "You know who that is? That's the kukui. That's the monster."
Yeah.
He goes, "You do not want them in our office." And they took one of the realtors in the back, and I was like, "Oh, Lord have mercy."
Well, you know what's so weird? This is where it translates to law enforcement. When I train new officers,
Yeah.
this is what I would say. If we do it the right way,
Oh, yeah.
we can go home and sleep tonight, and we
Yeah.
don't got to worry about it.
Yeah.
If you do it the wrong,
Yeah.
somehow, some way, somewhere, it's going to bite.
Absolutely.
When clients disappoint you or deals collapse,
Yeah.
okay,
And it happens.
how do you keep bitterness from taking root?
You just have to understand that that's the nature of the beast, Jay.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to say 19% of all contracts that went into contract fell out of contract in the last quarter. So it happens. You've got these first-time home buyers. They're afraid right now because the interest rates were like at 6.5 a while ago, and that payment is significant, Jay. I mean, for a first-time home buyer, their payment was probably $2,400 a month, all in PITI.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money for two kids
Yeah.
that have new jobs and raising a family. You know, that's scary. So yeah, it is just it's a scary thing. But like I said, that's where I come in, and I try to be that barrier, Jay. I try to be that barrier between, but I explain everything to them, and it's up to them to, hey, but like I said, at the end of the day, you had and it hasn't happened to me a lot. I did have one that they wanted to pull their buyer because of a roof situation. And I told the other agent, I said, "Well, we'll fix the roof, but you didn't ask us." Well, the wife wants out. Well, then the husband gets home and he goes, "No, we want in. We want you to fix the roof." And we saved the deal.
Got it. What is your personal, non-negotiable standard of excellence?
Just always doing the right thing, Jay.
Damn right.
And always going, like I said, I paid for a front yard to get done for the pictures, and the people didn't want to do it. And they go, "You're right. It looks a lot better." Yeah. Curb appeal makes a difference.
Oh, yeah.
If the curb appeal is there, more than likely the interior of the house is going to show well.
Yeah.
And you'll sell it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good something looks, Jay. It's all about pricing.
Yes.
100% pricing.
When motivation fades, what keeps your discipline alive?
I have achieved a certain status.
Yeah.
And people know who I am now.
Oh, yeah.
And so I like to be in that top tier. I want to be in that conversation.
Yeah.
I'm a left-handed Leo,
Yeah.
and I'm very prideful.
Yeah.
I like being in the upper echelon of these agents, and I like being mentioned, like when they say Century 21, they go, "Oh, it's Vinny and Louie.
Yeah.
Those are the top dogs over there." I like being mentioned that. But like I said, I've worked to get to that status, and I would like to keep that status.
Yeah. You know what? And I think that's where me and you are like in a lot of ways. Law enforcement, I did a lot than all of our buddies.
Yeah.
Because guess what? I push it harder,
Oh, yeah.
right? What habits, repeated even quietly, built your success brick by brick?
Just knowing that I wanted a little bit more out of life, Jay.
Yeah.
And I knew I have friends that are very wealthy, and they're able to do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it. I wanted to be able to take my wife to New York in the Christmas time and let her see all of the things that she's ever wanted to see. I wanted to be able to go, friends just call me on a whim and go, hey, let's go to Cabo. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, my kids are at that age where we can leave them with the dog. You know, we had to worry about the dog all the time. And being able to do things that I've always wanted to do, to see things that I've wanted to do, and to just have that little knowing that if something should go left, you know, with my mom, you know what I mean, that I had the means to take care of that, Jay.
Yeah.
That's what drives me.
I got it. If we strip away your titles, who are you when nobody is watching?
Easygoing Vinny, who does know how to stand down, even though, and hopefully this will show it, I'm pretty wound. I'm pretty enthusiastic. But at the end of the day, I'm that little kid from Exeter.
Yeah.
And I do know how to stand down, and I do know how to unwind, and I do know how to have a good time. And as my wife will say, you know, I work a lot in the mornings, get everything all done, and by 5 o'clock, I'm spent. And I like to take me a little nap sometimes, Jay, and my wife gives me a bad time about it. I don't care. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Well, you've done, you know what? You've worked to a level where if you want to do that, God bless you.
Yeah.
Do you believe the pain, the victories were all shaping you
100%
for the person that you were going to become?
100%. You know, going through those early phases with Tommy and with my uncle and with Scott. Yeah. You know, and like I said, you know, me not going that route of being a police officer, you know what I mean? That has all shaped me into the person I am. And then I think the second best compliment I had ever received, besides telling me that my parents were awesome and they could tell I had good parents, they said, Vinny, you're a very honest person. You're a very transparent person. And
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. And then, like I said, and I try, you know, like with Julian, I wanted to ask Julian when you had him on your podcast, hey, well, what did you think of me when I was your boss? You know, back
I would have loved it. I wish I would have known that. I would have asked that.
You would have asked him that. And I tried to, you know, when I was younger, I was a little bit more cocky, you know, but as you get older, Jay, you see life and you see how fragile life is. And hopefully you see that, you know, hey, let's just be a good person and enjoy this ride.
I agree. At 25, what did you think success was, and how has that changed?
So at 25, I thought I was going to be a store director in the grocery business, and that's not a bad gig.
Yeah, they can do well.
They do very well, especially the Walmart ones. So I was bound and determined to be a store director. I
just saw that something. I think a Walmart guy can make $300,000.
$300,000, yeah. So I was bound and determined, and Monty Rainwater, God rest his soul, he was on my side. Robert Lawrence was on my side. We need to fast track Vinny. So I was doing everything I needed to do, Jay, to be the next grocery manager and then store director. Well, that all changed when I found out how much the bread guy made and how much the Frito-Lay guy made.
Yeah.
So the bread guy in 1996 was making $85,000, but he had split days off. He had Wednesdays and Sundays off, and then he would have to meet the transport truck at 2:30 in the morning and load his own truck.
Wow.
And I go, I'm not about that. I am not about getting up that early. A friend of mine jumped ship to Frito-Lay, and he goes, hey, I was doing very well at Food for Less, and I went to Frito-Lay, and now I'm making around 65 starting. And I said, well,
back then that was good money.
Back then that was good money. I was making 33, and I thought I was King Salami.
Yeah.
You know, and so I said, well, wait a minute. I'm going to have to rethink this whole thing here. I may want to go this route. And so I went that route, and I found out what a hard job that was.
Yeah. Where does faith fit into your story?
Oh.
Is it anchor, compass, quiet companion.
Anchor, man, for sure, man. Because
See, I never knew you were that.
oh
religious.
yeah, because I mean, lately, and like I said, after my dad, passed away, I asked God for a lot, because what people don't know is that both my mom and dad were on the ventilators during COVID. And then
wow.
my dad got pulled off and he was deathly ill, but he had comorbidities. He had Parkinson's.
Yeah.
So my mom is on the I just lost my train of thought. Was on the ventilator also. So then my dad's passing, and then they tell me, we're taking your mom off, and I go, oh, thank God for that. And then they call me at 10 o'clock at night. We're putting your mom back on the ventilator. And you know what that meant back in COVID. That meant you were done.
Yes.
So try to wrap your head around losing both parents at once, Jay.
Oh, dude. I can only imagine.
I hugged my wife and she goes, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So without my wife at that time, dude, I would have probably just been done.
Yeah. When fear shows up before a big leap, and you've made some big ones.
Oh, yeah.
How do you answer it?
I just ask God to help me.
Yeah.
And help me in the direction, and show me the direction in which way I need to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you can be confident and you can think you know what's going to happen, but at the end of the day, you don't.
No,
so I just asked him, whichever way I need to go, I need your help.
Yeah.
And guide me, please, to make the right decision.
Good man. What does legacy mean beyond money and rewards?
I want to be known. I've had a friend of mine say that to me one day. And of course, we had been drinking. And like I said, that's the truth serum, Jay.
Yeah.
It really is. I want to be known as a solid, good, honest, God-fearing, great person who was a great dad.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? You are all of those.
I think I am.
You are.
Yeah.
I can honestly tell you that.
Yeah.
If your 18-year-old self were sitting here right now, what would you want him to know?
It's all going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's all going to pan out in the end. I mean, I didn't know what I wanted to do, Jay. I was just chasing the girls, and thank God I had the wherewithal to get a house. But what you don't know about that story is that my dad wanted to get a house for me. He knew I needed a house. And so they had a Thunderbird, and they went and got a loan at one of them little freaking 200%, ones on Mooney Boulevard over there. And they got a loan for, I want to say $6,000. And I want to say I had $2,000 or $3,000. And back then you could get into a house for about $10,000, give or take. And I bought my first house, and it was a brand new construction down the street around the corner from Gibby. And it cost me $105,000. But my interest rate was 8.5 at the time.
Were you guys living over there? Wasn't it pretty close to like the Save Mart?
Yeah, I lived right behind Save Mart.
Yeah,
and Gibby lived right around the corner.
Yeah.
So my dad had the wherewithal to go get me a few extra dollars so I could get into this thing. And then now look what's happened, you know what I mean? Because real estate is one of the best things you can invest your money into, Jay, for sure.
I went to Gibbs' first house.
Yeah.
I didn't go to yours, but yeah, and it was so. I mean, dude, his house on Old Line Road. I still want that house.
Yeah.
What would you say to a young man growing up in a small town who feels unseen?
Know that you do have a voice, and that if you put your mind to it, just like my dad always said, Jay, nothing's impossible. Be the best at whatever you like to do. Be the best at that, and you will succeed. I promise you that.
I tell you something, man. I was unseen for a lot of years, bro. And you know what it's done to me? I'm a machine.
Yeah, it makes you hungry.
And dude, I mean, all the stuff that, like, every time I achieve something, my wife always tells me, she's like, I can't believe the stuff you do.
Yeah.
She's like, dude, she goes, if I put my mind to it, it hasn't been easy, bro.
Yeah.
But it does, man. I mean, dude, back when I was 18, dude, drug dealer looked good, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now I think of all my whole struggle, my
Yeah.
whole life, dude.
Yeah.
I'm so with you.
Yeah.
What mistake taught you the most?
I want to say it was almost a mistake when I broke up with Veronica, my current wife,
Yeah.
because I got that old itch.
Yeah.
And she had never had a boyfriend, and I had already been around the block and having a great time, living my best life. And I broke up with her, and it broke her heart. And I'll never forget it. She wrote me this big old long letter, and I go, man, was that my wife? And something told me that was your wife. So what I normally didn't do, Jay, with these women was go back and ask for a second chance. And that had to have been divine intervention right there because, you know, my wife was Catholic. I'm Catholic. She liked football. I love football. She liked to party a little bit. I like to party a little bit.
Yeah.
So I went crawling back on my hands and knees with one of my name tags. I wrote a little note and I put it on her front door. And I said, if you give me a second chance, I will do good by you. I promise you that. I said, and I alluded to the fact that it could be for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
You know, so that was the biggest mistake that I almost made.
You know what, dude? I had something similar, dude. And this is what I told my wife when we knew we were going to do this. I said, if we're going to do this, I won't let you down.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Absolutely.
And I've never said that to any other woman.
Oh, yeah.
And
but I told my wife, I said, if we do get married, there are some things that I want to talk about.
oh yeah,
And I said, I don't like to be yelled at because my mom and dad didn't yell at each other. And I said, but when it came to money, my dad always had money. And I told my wife, I don't ever want to argue about money because hopefully that won't be an issue. Don't ever ask me if I'm having another beer, please.
I always say this. I think money is the worst thing to argue about.
I think so. I think that's the biggest.
It's horrible.
Yeah, it is horrible. And I told her, yeah, don't ever ask me because I can handle my wife's only seen me twice out of control from drinking, twice in 30 years. I think that's a pretty good track record.
That is,
you know what I
pretty
mean?
good.
And I
But
told
both
her,
of those were at the Nichols Palace reunion.
I got sober real quick on that one. So I told her, don't ever ask me if I have another beer. And then I know a lot of women. And if I'm somewhere, I'll go in there and I'll talk to them. I'll say hi to them. You know what I mean? I said, you got to be able to handle your own self when I go and I'm talking to other people because I have left her. You know what I mean? She didn't know anybody in the room. I said, but you got to be able to handle that aspect of me because I'm going to go over there and talk to these people.
I'm the same way.
You know what I mean? Yeah, that's the way it is.
What risk scared you the most?
Probably taking that risk from my full-time job into a job where you're 100% commission. And what if, Jay, that scared me to a certain point, but my wife had a full-time job.
Yeah. So at least you had that.
I had that little safety net there,
yeah,
you know, and she's got the benefits. I opted out of my benefits at Frito-Lay because my wife's a teacher and she has great benefits.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the things.
What are you still chasing? Is it peace, growth, or impact?
I think I'm chasing a little bit more. There's always room to grow.
Yeah.
I think I've made my impact after, you know, being in this business I've had my license for 19 years now, Jay. It doesn't seem possible.
Yeah.
But only full-time since 2017. Growth in my business, you always have to be growing. This new stuff with the AI, holy macro, big growth is coming to our industry. You better get in front of this and you better learn how to use these AI tools for our business. But I'm not worried about AI taking over my business because at the end of the day, AI cannot act like me.
Yeah.
They do not have the people skills that I do. They do not have the knowledge that I have in my brain. So I'm not worried about them taking over, but the growth for sure.
Yeah. 30 years from now, when your name is spoken, what do you hope echoes behind it?
That, like I said, I think we've already mentioned this a little bit before. Hey, that he was a good dad, that he was a solid guy, and he was an honest guy that had integrity.
Got it. What lesson from your father still lives in your bones and will live in your children's?
The work ethic, for sure, Jay. I mean, my father, and what a lot of people don't know either, and I didn't know up until till he passed, my dad had tuberculosis as a teenager. And when they found out he had tuberculosis, they ripped him out of school and put him in the hospital for a year.
Oh, wow.
I did not know that. And then, so the only pictures that I have of my father as a youngster were in the hospital. And then guess there was one picture and he's working.
Okay.
So those are the only types of pictures that I have of my dad. But the work ethic, 110%, is what I want to ingrain in my kids.
Yeah. All right, we're going to transition to a lightning round.
Oh, here we go.
Okay. The moment that broke you or built you?
Oh, man. I would say losing Scott George started to build me. I think in the beginning, I felt like I was broke.
Yeah.
But then after that, I was like, oh, no. This guy's not going to have the satisfaction of knowing that we're tore up about this, and we're going to make sure that he gets his day in court.
Good. One word that defines your journey.
Lengthy.
Yep.
It took a while for me to figure out what I was good at, Jay. I mean, between Nichols Pay Less and Food for Less and Frito-Lay, 30 years.
Yeah.
30 years, but 10 of those years I had my real estate license and I was doing it part-time, learning the craft.
A failure you're grateful for?
Not getting into the CHP Academy. For you, it was just, devastating when you didn't get in. For me, I was like, oh, well, maybe that's not the way I need to go. Because like I tell my clients, when we lose out on a house, everything happens for a reason, Jay.
No, it does.
I mean, you said that. I say it every day. I said, you guys, everything will happen for a reason. God has his plan.
Yeah. A daily habit that changed everything.
Going to the gym.
Okay.
Yep. I can honestly say that if I miss a day, like somebody the other day goes, hey, I need to do an 8:30. And I asked him, I said, hey, do we have to do 8:30? And he's all, yes. And I said, no problem. I'll, get my schedule and I'll skew it a little bit in order to make that happen.
The first person who truly believed in you.
Oh, mom and dad.
Got it.
100%. My dad got to see me be successful. Yeah. And I used to walk in that room and he could not walk. And he used to tell me, son, you got it under control, don't you? I said, Pop, I do.
Good man. Good man. What are you most proud of? Really? I mean, right down to your bones. What are you most proud of, bro?
My marriage.
Good man. Good man.
My marriage and my kids.
Dude, your wife's awesome, dude. She is awesome.
She compliments me because I'm that guy that talks to everybody. She's the gal that doesn't talk to everybody, but she compliments me. You cannot have two A++ personalities, Jay.
No.
You know that.
No.
I've dated women that were A+ and I'm A+. It just doesn't work out.
No.
She compliments me, Jay, and she keeps me grounded. She says, hey, tell Jay not to talk too much about you because your freaking head's not going to fit through the damn door.
No,
she knows who I am. She knows who I am. And like
you know what? It's interesting, man. I have that.
Yeah.
And it's a game changer for me, dude.
Yeah,
and,
it really is. And the old snippet is that's coming out right now that I see all the time. Who you marry is the most important thing
100%
that you will ever do in your life.
100. Only took me to my fourth one.
But now you have it. Now you know what you know what it feels like, right?
Yeah. What still keeps you awake at night?
Oh, wow. I think a lot about my mom.
Yeah.
One of these days she's not going to be here. And I think about, man, it's one lady told me when I sold her house, she goes, I feel like an orphan.
Yeah.
Because my mom and dad are both gone. I think
Yeah.
about that a lot. I think about the futures for my kids and going back to the real estate. How are our kids going to, when we had this conversation, how are our kids going to afford these houses?
Oh, I know, dude.
You know
It's
what I mean?
crazy
You better
right
have
now.
$100,000 job and you're going to need $25,000 in the bank in order to purchase a house.
Yeah.
But then I tell my kids, you better find a spouse that's got a good job too, because now more than ever, it takes two incomes, Jay.
Oh, big
It
time.
really, really does. I don't know how these people are making it. You know, my niece, she's renting a house for me right now, and she's got a job, you know, an okay job, and he's got an okay job, and they struggle. And they struggle. Back in the day, my mom and dad didn't really struggle. You know what I mean? My mom went to work after I was in fourth grade, and she was an aide. And then, you know, the bilingual thing got to be a big deal. So then my mom was, you know, certified as a bilingual aide, and that was good for her.
Yeah.
But my dad always had a great job, you know, and always had cash. But I just don't know how these kids nowadays are going to survive without having a great job. So that's why I'm pushing my two girls into the medical field, and I'm pushing my son into the IT field, you know.
Yeah, IT, that's going to be the wave, dude.
And guess what? That's always going to be there. And you better have that Cisco system certificate. And you better have the Microsoft certificate. And then for my girls, they want to get into sonogram and x-ray. And I said, hey, what do you notice about if I say a medical center? And they're going, what do you mean? I go, every time we pass by there, it's full.
Yeah.
Full. You will always have a job if you get into that field.
You know what? I was speaking at the college one day and I said this to a class. You know, one of the kids is like, money's not everything. And I said, I will grant you that.
Yeah.
It's not everything. But I use a quote by John Wayne. It's a whole lot better to cry in a Mercedes than it is in a Volkswagen, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's what I told these kids. I said, you don't realize it, but I go, having money, you know what the key thing about money is? Freedom.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was like,
100%.
like right now, dude, with my retirement check,
Yeah.
if I never work a day in my life,
You're
from here,
good. You're
my
good.
house payment's made, my
Yeah.
car payment's made. And right, that's what I tell people. It's
Yeah.
like all those years of slaving away, putting
Yeah.
my life on the line,
Oh,
all
yeah.
those times, it's got me to this point to where if I don't, in fact, I'm at the point in my life to this. If I don't want to do something,
Yeah,
I
you
just
don't
tell
do
people,
it.
no,
Yeah,
I ain't doing it.
exactly.
When you say home, what do you feel?
Comfort.
Yeah.
I feel I got my my Govee lights going on the front of my house.
Yeah.
I got the dog laying next to me. I have my wife right here, and my kids they all have jobs. So some of them are working, some of them are not. But when they're all home and that alarm goes, and then I set that alarm at night, dude, that's comfort to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, brother, we went quick, and I knew this would happen.
Yeah, well,
because you're like this.
Yeah.
You're like,
Because I know what I want to
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't have to think about it.
But you know, I just want to tell you a couple of things. Number one, you're my favorite realtor. All right.
I hope so.
Yeah, and so for the folks at home, Vinny has bought and sold 4 houses for me. In fact, the house that I currently live in, you
Yep.
did that one for me. I know everybody in town.
Yeah.
Do you know how many realtors have the Jay, I would love to have your business? And I tell every realtor I deal with one dude.
Yeah.
And that's Vinny Arbizo.
And I appreciate that.
And you know, and so, you know, obviously we're friends, man, but dude, you're such a good dude. And when people ask me for a realtor,
Yeah.
you're the only guy that I
Absolutely.
recommend.
And I appreciate that because that's how I make my living. You know what I mean? I live on referrals. You know, I don't do cold calling anymore like I did back in the day. I don't do my postcards, which are a waste of money. I don't do any of that. It's all referral based. Matter of fact, I just sold, let's see, I closed 2 houses. I have 2 in escrow. I have 2 on the market, and I have 3 coming to market.
Jesus.
And those are all referrals, Jay. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And I appreciate that. But like I said, they know when they hire me, they're going to get the best.
I agree. Well, I'll leave you with a quote. Oh, wait, before we stop, Is there anything you would like to say before we wrap up?
No, just thank you. I want to make sure that I commend you on what you're doing, because I told you from the very beginning, I think you found a niche, Jay.
I have.
And I really do mean that from the bottom of my heart. And it's helped me to understand maybe what you guys have gone through, and maybe understand Gibby a little bit more.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I told my wife that the other day, and I said, one thing that I've learned from Jay's podcast and from all of his people that he's talking to is that I've learned a little bit more of what has gone on in Gibby's life, in his work life, and then what it maybe has done to him and all the struggles he's had. It's made me understand a little bit more what he's gone through.
Yeah. And I tell you something, this is truly a platform for healing.
Sure.
And everybody I bring on here, man, if we really want to get down, man, life has a way of throwing us all a curveball, bro.
Absolutely.
And we've all had that curveball thrown at us. And so I'm all in on this.
Yep.
And I just love it. And, and yes, I like to be the guy doing it, but more so, I just love that it heals people.
Absolutely.
Dude, I had a friend that I grew up with. She reached out to me, and, she lives in Virginia.
Oh.
And Melissa, this is for you. Dude, she was like, she goes, I'm addicted to it. She goes, I love your podcast.
That's good.
And it's awesome, man, because it's just something. And I go places. I was just at Gino's. Gino lives in Farmersville. I show up there and they're having a barbecue. And one of his relatives walks up to me and he's like, dude, I'm addicted to your podcast. Yeah. Then he walked out to his car, got my book, brought it in, and I signed it for him. Dude.
Nice.
That's just awesome.
I love it.
I'll leave you with a quote about realtors. Realtors don't sell houses. They sell new beginnings.
Absolutely. And I will tell you this before we go. I'm not a salesman.
Yeah.
I'm in the people business, Jay.
Yes,
I'm in the relationship business, Jay. That's what I do.
Yeah. I will tell you this. There was one thing that you did for me. I didn't ask for it at the time. Somebody I was with at the time. But I remember they asked you, can you shave your commission to help us get that house?
Yeah.
And I was upset about it.
Yeah.
But I remember you going like this, not a problem.
Yeah.
And I already loved you before that. But after that, I was like, that right there, that's a true friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I came across, I wrote this part, but I want to read this to you because in a nutshell, it truly describes what I think about you. You've walked me through doors on 4 different homes, through uncertainty, negotiation, keys that you placed gently in my awaiting hands, and the quiet courage it took for me to begin again.
Yep.
You've done that for me, bro. And every time, I'll never forget, bro. Every time I've ever asked you, you just go, let's do it, dude.
Yeah,
and I love that about you, man.
Yeah.
And so I want you deserve this. I want you to get as big as you want, man, because you deserve it. I think you are a killer in this business. I think you're going to continue to kill it in this business. And, so for you, man, you're my man, 50 grand, man. And I'm in it. I'm a huge fan and I'm always in your corner. Absolutely. And I'm always rooting for you, man.
I appreciate that.
Well, folks, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Next week, I got a new guest coming in, and I'll leave you with my parting quote that I always leave you with. Good luck, God bless, and Godspeed. Keep watching, folks.